The cloak slipped off Whitebeard's shoulders, leaving no scars on his bare back. Only the logo of the Whitebeard pirates, and this scene was recorded in the eyes of a phone bug. Captain Buggy, is Whitebeard really dead? The prisoners gathered around Buggy. Die. Really dead, that monster Whitebeard? Sweat dripped down Buggy's forehead. The group of prisoners around him was just releasing them from the prison so that he could escape from the prison. As a result, he somehow followed Blackbeard to Marineford. After seeing Whitebeard, these bastards encouraged him to take Whitebeard's head. Thanks to his wit, relying on his 3-inch tongue, he successfully stabilized this group of vicious gangsters. If you die, there's nothing you can do. What a pity, I was planning to give him the final blow. Kizaru, that guy, blinked my head. Buggy put his hands on his chest and laughed awkwardly. Laugh and leave. Whoever loves to stay in this ghost place stays here. Sooner or later, he will be involved in the war if he stays here, and he will die without knowing how. If you want to run, do it now. Captain Buggy, where are you going? That dog Kizaru dared to snatch your head, just kill him here. A prisoner suggested viciously. Scared. The cold sweat on Buggy's forehead was like a waterfall. It shouldn't be cheap. Yeah, Captain Buggy, this is absolutely unbearable. Yes, I can't bear it. We all support you, Captain Buggy. This is the critical moment for you to show your strength. Don't be silly, that's the highest strength of Marine Admiral. Buggy cursed from the bottom of his heart, turned his head and yelled, and continued to run. Just go around him once, next time we meet, I will never let him go. With a bang, it suddenly bumped into something. That bastard is not long. Buggy was so angry that he turned his head and wanted to curse, almost spitting on other people's faces. But when he saw clearly what he bumped into, he opened his mouth wide. Scent. Shanks? The redhead had a serious face, looked away from Whitebeard's body, and then smiled faintly. Yo, Buggy, how are you? What's okay? Why are you bastard here? Buggy separated his hands, grabbed the red-haired collar, and said angrily, it was you, the bastard, who turned me into a landlubber. Haha, I'm sorry, this happened so many years ago, it's almost time to pass. The redhead smiled. This scene was seen by the prisoners again, all of whom showed extremely admiring eyes. As expected of Captain Buggy, he even quarreled with that 4 emperors, the red-haired Shanks. No, wait, why another 4 emperors? Could it be that the war has just begun? The prisoners finally felt a little nervous. Gudong, swallowing saliva. Buggy's phone bug faithfully records everything. The news of the death of 4 emperors Whitebeard spread throughout the world in a blink of an eye. Sabaody Archipelago. Roof. The old man held a small jug in his hand, and looked at the live broadcast with tears in his eyes. Of the 3 large screens, only the middle one is still lit. Whitebeard in the picture, as well as Whitebeard's last words before his death, are clearly conveyed here. Let's go, Whitebeard, he said with a smile. Go all the way, it's a beautiful last word. The people who were also watching the live broadcast had expressions of disbelief. Is that Whitebeard? Really, dead? Really dead? That Buggy confirmed. Who the hell is that Buggy? Different from the reaction of the public, the reporters immediately picked up their respective phone bugs and dialed the number of naval headquarters impatiently. This is Sabaody Archipelago. I am a reporter from Shijing. Is Whitebeard really dead? I want to know the exact news. The supernova pirates also witnessed history. Everyone's expression is different. Some were silent, some were excited, some were laughing. But no one left, because the war is not over yet. Marineford, before the ruins of the execution stand. Sengoku suddenly received the report, and his complexion changed drastically. What did you say? The live stream was not cut off. Yes. After we disconnected and reconnected about a few minutes later, a reporter from Sabaody Archipelago just called to confirm Whitebeard's situation. Damn. Sengoku's face darkened. No need to ask, there must be a video phone bug missing. Cutting off the live broadcast is the command above. Go find it. Sengoku shouted in a deep voice. Yes. At the same time, in front of Whitebeard's body. Blackbeard's gang suddenly approached, and several subordinates covered Whitebeard with a huge black cloth. What are you up to? Aokiji steps forward. Unlike Akainu, who is covered in blood, there are hardly any stains on his clothes. Thief, ha ha ha. Aokiji. Blackbeard grinned. Thank you, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have entered Impel Down so easily. Aokiji was silent. When this group of people was arrested at sea before, they didn't realize that this guy was a capable person at all. After all, he was frozen for a second, hidden really deep. The gate of justice is also your fault? Aokiji narrowed his eyes and suspected the Straw Hats before, but now it seems that this is the mastermind behind the scenes. Do you like my performance? Lafitte took off his hat and bowed gracefully. On the warship escorting Ace, I found a few people to hypnosis. Aokiji is no longer asking, there is no need. Since you are a prisoner, you should stay in prison honestly. His whole body began to overflow with cold air. Thief, ha ha ha. Don't be so impatient, Aokiji, the grand performance has just begun. Blackbeard laughed twice, lifted the black cloth and walked in. Afterwards, many pirates stood in front of the black cloth one after another. The big barrel chote burped drunkenly. A delicious dinner always comes at the end. Katrine Timi licked her lips, staring straight at Aokiji. Hoo. The man is really impatient. Do you want me to play with you? Shiryu of the Rain was smoking an unfinished cigar, and said neither salty nor light. If you fail, will you disband on the spot? What are these people doing? Aokiji frowned. Not only him, but others also realized something was wrong. Akainu blocked his wound with magma, stood up and faced everyone in Blackbeard, and snorted coldly. HMPH, a group of stinky sewer rats can only do some dark tricks. Bullet took a step forward without saying a word, his eyes suddenly fixed. Boom. A wave of Conqueror's hockey was released overwhelmingly towards the marine side. Heaven. Luffy played with the shock fruit in his hand, amused by the farce below. But, to be honest, he was also curious. Can Blackbeard still get the force zone after he intercepts the shock fruit? He came to Summit War for 2 reasons. Rescue Ace, get shock fruit, all have been achieved at this moment. Logically speaking, as the final winner, he should run away now. However, he had other things on his mind about Blackbeard's presence. Observe quietly. Not all right. Blackbeard. Shiryu waited impatiently, there is an admiral outside. Among the black cloth, Blackbeard looked dazed. Why no response? Whitebeard's shock fruit, is this glue a big deal? Impossible. How can it be? Even if the fruit is to regenerate, it will not be so fast. Blackbeard's face was livid, and he tried 2 more times, but there was still no feedback. He secretly thought something was wrong. This group of prisoners didn't recognize him as the captain, they just obeyed his instructions because of their interests. Once the interests are gone, he can't control this group of vicious guys. No, maybe you will eat yourself back. Blackbeard broke out in a cold sweat. This is not right. Beyond the black cloth. Akainu's eyes are not good, and his arms have turned into rolling rocks. The escaped prisoner did not flee to the sea immediately, but deliberately ran to the center of this kind of battlefield, and covered Whitebeard's body with a black cloth. Before he could make a move, Luffy had already made a move. With a flash, he reached out and lifted the black cloth. Blackbeard's gang was taken aback. This guy came from the air, and his speed was extremely fast, and he didn't react for a while. Etc. Blackbeard felt the darkness around him fade away, and the sun shone on him again, and his heart skipped a beat. Sensing his expression, Shiryu frowned. Failed? No, something went wrong. Blackbeard gritted his teeth, someone took the things first. Everyone. Although what was said was true, it seemed to be a joke to the ears of the prisoners at this moment. Bullet suddenly turned around and stared coldly. Failed? You'd better be kidding, Blackbeard. Shiryu grimaced. Really? Blackbeard opened his mouth, feeling like he couldn't explain it. How did these people gather at the beginning, and how did these people leave at this moment? HMPH. A silly trick. Bullet snorted angrily, it's time for the so-called Blackbeard pirates to disband. Without any nonsense, run away as soon as possible. You know, they are prison escapees, and the location they are in now is naval headquarters. Don't run and wait to be caught. The many pirates gathered around Blackbeard ran away in a blink of an eye. Everyone is a smart person. If you don't stay here and fight with Marine, then you have a brain problem. As for Blackbeard, although it is very uncomfortable to be cheated, now is not the time to settle accounts. Damn bastard. Lousy remembers you. Dead black pig. What he said in prison is really nice. Hoo. It's really sad to be cheated by a man again. Some prisoners ran away without staying for a second. Only 3 people and a sick horse remained. Now, Lien Lat was stunned. What should I do? Captain, this is not the time to be joking. Blackbeard was dripping with cold sweat. Looking at Akainu and Aokiji who were close at hand, he also turned and ran away. Damn it. Run first, he yelled and slipped away. Ha. Luffy couldn't stop laughing, moved his body, and immediately chased after him. At the same time, Akainu snorted coldly, his body gradually turned into flowing magma, and he wanted to catch up. Wait. Akainu. Crane Vice Admiral yelled immediately. Don't worry about those prisoners, the target is Luffy in the straw hat, it's an order from above. Hearing this, Akainu's complexion changed, and he immediately changed his target. Like a volcanic eruption, a column of magma rose into the sky. The traitor still wants to leave. Akainu condensed half of his body from the magma. Seeing that he couldn't catch up with Luffy's speed, he immediately punched him. Great eruption. The huge lava fist rose at the sight of the wind. Luffy paused, turned around immediately, and met with fists. The moment you lift it up, you can see the future. A red figure appeared in front of him like lightning, blocking Akainu's blow with a single knife. Seeing this person's appearance, Marine's complexions changed drastically. Impossible. Sengoku's eyes widened. How could you appear here, fighting against Kaido in New World 3 days ago? Red-haired Shanks. The red-haired man looked calm, and after blocking the attack for Luffy, he said calmly. Whitebeard is dead, and you should be satisfied. This is not possible. Not far away, Kizaru stretched out his index finger, and the golden light emitted from his fingertips continued to lock on Luffy. It's true that the original 7 warlords of the sea, Monkey D. was completely played a meal. The golden light gathered and gradually became shining. A lot of nonsense, 5 minutes to read. Suddenly, a short gun locked on him from a distance. Ben Beckman sits on a piece of rubble, holds a gun in one hand, and holds a toothpick in his mouth. Stay still, Kizaru. Terrible, really terrible. Kizaru's face froze, and he immediately saluted the French, holding up the flag. Looking past Beckman, on the iron wall behind him, a group of pirates were either standing or squatting, looking at themselves with unfriendly expressions. Red hair pirates. All here. Vice Admiral, the Flying Squirrel, gasped. People's discoloration. Akainu's face was ugly. What do you mean? Red hair. Stepping out of the lava, Akainu faced today's second 4 emperors. If you still want to fight, let me be your opponent, the red hair said calmly. Sengoku clenched his fists and stared at Shanks. The scene stabilized instantly. Luffy had a speechless expression on his face. Glancing in the direction of Blackbeard's escape, he sighed. I'm so annoying. Give you some sunshine and you'll be brilliant. Give me some color. Do you want to open a dyeing workshop? Luffy was no longer as relaxed as usual, and his expression became cold. Shanks was stunned for a moment, and couldn't help but look back. Jauntification. Luffy jumped up, and in an instant, his body swelled, and he turned into a sky giant hundreds of meters away. Seeing this scene, everyone's pupils shrank suddenly. What's this? Sengoku looked blank. The 3 admirals stared up, each one dumbfounded. Why don't you just kill all of you Marines here? Grinning, Luffy landed a punch. White Ape King Spear. A terrifying punch fell from the sky. Sengoku's expression changed drastically, revealing the form of a giant Buddha for the first time. Shockwave. The golden Buddha slapped his palm towards the sky. It's just that, in front of the 5th gear's tyrant, it can only block Setsuna. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening bang, Sengoku's Buddha body was blown away, and the naval headquarters fortress behind him was instantly reduced to dust. The islands are shaking. The shock wave swept across, and in a blink of an eye, the entire square was razed to the ground. Countless warships disintegrated in the impact. With one punch, naval headquarters collapses. White's huge fist shattered the naval headquarters fortress. For hundreds of years, the fortress of justice that has been guarding this world has been destroyed many times, but it has never been as serious as it is now. It completely disappeared on this island. Under Luffy's gigantic punch, a strong earthquake occurred on the entire island, and the inner base square, including a large area behind the execution platform, was torn apart by this blow. Boom. The vibration sound can even be transmitted tens of kilometers away. The shock wave shattered the ice in the inner bay, and the circled waves were tens of hundreds of meters high. The many pirate ships that were fleeing, and the pirates on them also looked back one after another. That gigantic white figure was clearly imprinted in everyone's eyes. Moby Dick. Luffy. Ace stared blankly at the scene in the distance. So strong. What a guy, Ace, your brother's fighting power is comparable to that of your father. Marco was shocked. The shaking lasted for a while. A square completely reduced to ruins. Doflamingo pushed a boulder away from him, got up and saw the razed scene. What a destructive force. Such a large naval headquarters, I really can't see the prototype at all, leaving only an empty ruin. He gasped, feeling horrified. Isn't this an ordinary zone? Phantom beast species? Never heard of it. He has seen the ancient devil fruit illustrated book, but there is no such fruit comparison at all. There is a fruit called Big Fruit, which can make the ability bigger. But not white, and that's still paramecia. Could it be some kind of special racial bloodline? If it's white, the Lyria tribe. That's not right either, there is no signature flame. Doflamingo was lost in thought. Monster. Suddenly, he chuckled twice. In the new era after Whitebeard's death, new monsters will appear immediately, at the other side. Hawkeye also got up from the ruins, and when he looked at Luffy's huge figure, he not only recalled the brief fight in East Blue. Captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, Monkey Luffy. He thought to himself. If the captain has this kind of strength, the captain of the first team, the swordsman who wants to challenge him, will become a real strong man sooner or later, right? The corners of Hawkeye's mouth turned up, and suddenly there was great anticipation. Thinking so, he turned and left. You're leaving. Doflamingo frowned. The war is over and there is no point in staying here. Hawkeye left without looking back. Cough Kaga unknown currency. Under the ruins behind Doflamingo, coughing sounded. Then, with a bang, Moria crawled out from the endless rubble. His forehead was bleeding, and his face was very ugly. Straw Hat Luffy, this kid got me in too. Fur. If you are dissatisfied, he is over there, and you can directly settle accounts with him. Moria is speechless. Settle accounts? This kid is a monster, just like Whitebeard. Now that Whitebeard is dead, this guy has given up the title of Shicibukai, maybe the new 4 emperors is him. And at a position farther away from the two of them, Shemale King Ivankov got up, opened his mouth wide, and looked at the ruined land with horror on his face. What a terrible attack. Fortunately, it was a fortress. If it landed on the square, I wouldn't dare to think about it. Who is this kid? He shook his head, still in disbelief. Suddenly, an indifferent voice came from behind. His name is Monkey D. Luffy, son of the dragon. Ivankov froze all over, turned around suddenly, and assumed a fighting stance. I see, the son of the dragon. The dragon? The dragon? The leader of the Revolutionary Army? His old friend? Ivankov was completely dumbfounded by the shocking facts. The next moment, Bartholomew Kuma's figure flashed. He approached in an instant, and whispered in his ear. He asked me to deliver an important message, but I'm running out of time. After the war, I'm afraid I won't be me. Ivankov's pupils shrank. The intelligence that comes from the ears is simply unbelievable. What you said is true. Bye now. Shang remained expressionless, and patted Ivankov with his outstretched right palm. The meatball in the palm has the power to bounce everything away. Paramecia meatball fruit. Edka A. With only time to leave 2 words, Ivankov disappeared into the battlefield in an instant. In front of Whitebeard's body, the redhead protected the corpse with hockey, and looked up at the huge Luffy at the same moment, stunned. That's what Captain Roger said. He touched his empty left arm with a smile on his face. I blocked it in the new era. Juan. I can't help but recall 10 years ago, when I met Luffy for the first time in Windmill Village. Hey. Do you want to overtake us? Then I will leave this hat with you. This is my most important hat. One day I will come and get it back, when you become the best pirate. Luffy, you are already a great pirate. Ha 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 ha. Hey, Luffy. The red hair shouted towards the sky. Is it a little bit too much? That is the fortress of naval headquarters. If you do this kind of thing, the government will not let you go. The government didn't intend to let me go. You deliberately pretended to be stupid. Luffy cursed in his heart, looked down at the little ant, grinned and said. Shanks. Let's just team up and kill all these annoying marines. Ha 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 ha. Shanks laughed. Sinking Marineford, which has kept the order of the sea for hundreds of years. That's a good idea. Just to match Luffy's jokes, he didn't take it seriously. But Luffy is serious. Since the Nika fruit has been exposed, it is the enemy, and it is best to deal with the enemy and kill them as much as possible. Between the two of them talking, a burst of magma suddenly erupted from the ground. Akainu, who was covered in lava, walked out of the magma pillar step by step with a cold face. Crimson magma dripped continuously from his body, and every time he took a step, the ground under his feet would turn into a sea of AA magma. Sinking Marineford? Straw Hat Luffy, you're dishonoring justice, Tushu won't let you go. Then, a golden light flashed. On Akainu's left-hand side, Kizaru's body is rapidly condensing into shape. Terrible. 2 big pirates with 4 emperors fighting power join forces? Kizaru, who was talking casually, still had a lazy posture. At the same time, Aokiji walked step by step with a headache expression on his face. The headquarters has become like this, do you still want to sell nonsense? In a blink of an eye, 3 admirals stood side by side, blocking in front of the red hair. The red-haired man looked serious, and an almost substantive conqueror's haki erupted from his body. Boom. Black and red lightning, like a devil's touch, filled the surrounding space. The top conquerors even shook the ground. Please give me some face, today's war is over. Luffy's body shrank back to normal in an instant, walked to the side of the red hair, laughed and said. I haven't seen you in 10 years, I'm getting more and more haki, Shanks. The next moment, everyone from the red hair pirates came behind them. Beckman yelled, spat out the toothpick in his mouth, raised the short gun in his hand, and pointed at the 3 admirals. If the trouble continues, then we will fight to the end, Marine. All of a sudden, the scene was tense. Whitebeard's death, as if not the end, but the beginning. Kizaru's body began to shine golden. Aokiji's cold air spread rapidly. Akainu's eyes were cold, and the sea of AA magma was spreading under his feet. So be it. Suddenly, Sengoku's voice came from behind the 3 of them. His cloak was gone, and the clothes on his upper body were torn off, revealing a traumatized body. It was punched by the previous punch. Enough is enough. If we continue to fight, the losses will be too heavy. Our biggest goal has been achieved, and the troubles stop here. Sengoku clenched his fists tightly, staring at Luffy, feeling extremely angry inside. The bastard. How dare you smash into pieces the fortress that has stood in the world for hundreds of years and symbolizes marine justice. At the moment, Sengoku can only endure. During observation Haki's listening, the island was full of wailing sounds, and there were dying pirates who had no time to escape. There are also a large number of sailors involved in the attack just now. The war is over. He let go of his fist and said tiredly, I'm all responsible, Straw Hat Luffy, red-haired Shanks, let's go. Hearing this, Haki of Shanks immediately dispersed, smiled and said. That's best. Whitebeard's body, I'll take it with you. As he spoke, he turned around and spoke to his subordinates. Hurry up and move the body away, Luffy, let's go, ha 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 ha. Do you really want to sink this island? He reached out and rubbed Luffy's head, and took him away with a smile. Luffy secretly thought it was a pity. Luffy, I haven't seen you in 10 years, you've become stronger. Big fat lackey Lu said with a smile. Luffy, you have become like the boss, more and more haki, you are no longer the crybaby, ha ha ha. Luffy, I was surprised to see you become a Shicibukai earlier. The crew members of the red-haired regiment gathered around one after another and greeted Luffy, who had been away for a long time. Since when have I been a crybaby? You don't even admit it, boss, this kid has completely forgotten. It's okay, let him remember it when he can drink. A group of people laughed and left. Only Beckman and Gab stayed where they were. I can't stand these people. Beckman had no choice but to say to his companions, Gab, help me and bring Whitebeard back. Soon, Under the gaze of Sengoku and the three admirals, the crowd disappeared into the square. Aokiji thought in confusion, "Kill Whitebeard, do you really mean it? Pirates are like weeds that can't be killed, they will pop up again overnight." 4 emperors lost a Whitebeard, but added a Straw Hat Luffy. Maybe there is no such title now, but with this kid's strength, it won't be long. Soon after, Red Force pirate ship. Whitebeard's body was loaded onto the boat. On the deck, the Red Hare and others warmly entertained Luffy, and the delicious food and wine were served, and everyone sat on the floor, creating a very lively atmosphere. "Usopp, your son Usopp is on my ship, and is still in the capital of 7 waters." "Son? Really? Did Usopp go to sea too? Ha 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 ha. Sure enough, men can't refuse the call of the sea. Eh?" Luffy despised. I glanced at this guy. The person who abandoned his wife and children also had the nerve to say that if it were him, he would simply take his wife and children with him. "Drink, drink, Luffy, you are 17 years old now, you can drink freely." People kept trying to persuade them to drink. In this regard, Luffy can only helplessly be poured one cup after another. 3 rounds of wine, 5 flavors of food. He suddenly remembered something. Forget about Blackbeard. Forget it, let's talk about it next time. By the way, Shanks, do you know where Elegia is? The atmosphere suddenly froze. Shanks held a large bowl of wine and put it to his mouth. He was stunned for a while, and then he smiled and said, "Alicia, what's wrong? I already knew what happened 10 years ago. You left Uta there, and I'm going to find her." Luffy said calmly. "That is a childhood sweetheart, a singer with fruit ability, a very powerful and potential fruit ability hidden. He plans to go there when he has time." Shanks fell silent. "Boss. Luffy. There was a reason for what happened back then." Someone tried to explain, but was stopped by the redhead. He smiled slightly, took out a record pointer from his chest, and threw it to Luffy. "This is Elegia's eternal pointer. Luffy, if you see Uta, please help me and say sorry to her." "And this thing? Take it with you?" Luffy looked surprised. "Next, we're going to find Whitebeard's captain and return the body to them. Luffy, what's your plan?" The redhead deliberately changed the topic. "Don't want to mention Uta. I have to go back to the capital of 7 waters as soon as possible." Hearing this, Luffy stood up. "My companion is still there. I'm afraid there will be some troubles in the future. The fruit of Nika has been exposed to the whole world, and the next voyage will not be as peaceful as before." He walked to the side of the boat and immediately activated the Nika form. "I already know about this fruit, Shanks. See you in New World." See you in New World. The reunion was very short, and when they parted, no one spoke to persuade them to stay. Everyone has their own adventures and there is no point in holding back. The next moment, Luffy turned into a white light and flew away in an instant. "Boss, is Luffy in danger? With his strength, he can overcome it." Hongfa drank the wine in his hand in one gulp, and said, "This kid is already very strong. Maybe even I am no match." Ha 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 ha, everyone laughed. On the other side, Luffy found a direction and flew straight away. He took out the shock fruit hanging from his waist. A person can only eat 1 devil fruit, and if he eats 2, he will explode and die. Blackbeard can have double fruits because of his abnormal body, the specifics are unknown. But 4 Emperors Kaido has been arrested many times. If you eat 2 fruits, you will die on the spot. Marine killed Kaido long ago. So, the answer is obvious. Exploding to death may be true, but that is only for ordinary people. As long as the body is strong enough, you can carry it. With a flash of white light, a self-healing fruit appeared in Luffy's hand. That's right, the current fruit. In the previous Summit War, he gave the Empress one and said, "Only one for now." That's deceiving. In fact, he still has one. During his 7 days at Naval Headquarters, he refreshed the store every day. At this time, a self-healing fruit deliberately left behind is for the present. I originally planned to press Blackbeard about the secret of the fruit. Unfortunately, interrupted by Akainu. But it doesn't matter, this is a shock fruit evolved from a blank fruit, and it has no side effects. If there will still be a conflict because of the double fruit, I can fight it with my physique. If you can't resist, just eat a self-healing fruit. Everything was perfect as planned. Without hesitation, Luffy opened his mouth and bit down. The next moment, he awakened the power of shock fruit. After taking the first bite of shock fruit, Luffy's heart beat violently. Boom. A new force was born in the body. It turns out that the unpalatable taste is also a side effect. The taste is surprisingly good. Luffy chewed the pulp and ate up the shock fruit bit by bit, just as he was hungry. No wonder Nami and Vivi didn't mention devil fruit to themselves. Even unpalatable is a side effect, which is a bit outrageous to be true. Successful, the devil fruit evolved from the blank fruit will not conflict with the original ability. After eating the pulp, the peel is really not tasty, so Luffy throws it away and feeds it to the fish. This means that you can continue to eat, have a third, or even a fourth, fifth ability. Luffy flicked one arm and punched out. Boom. In an instant, the atmosphere cracked, the power of the vibration spread away, and the sea below suddenly set off huge waves. Seaquake. Reproduced Whitebeard's moves, just a single punch can set off a huge wave, but the disadvantage is that it consumes a lot of physical strength. Of course, this is not a big problem. He who has the sunshine fruit, as long as he is in the daytime, his physical strength is unlimited. Is it possible to eat an awakening fruit to awaken shock fruit? Not yet. Try it when you have a chance. Thinking of this, Luffy looked down at another fruit in his hand. Self-healing fruit. This is a preparation for safety, but in the end it was useless. Putting it away, Luffy looked for a direction and accelerated on his way. 10 minutes later. I don't know how far it flew, but the 4 directions as far as the eye can see are still the vast ocean. Be lost. I used to laugh at chlorella and get lost, but I never thought I would have such a day. Luffy stood in the sky at an altitude of 600 or 700 meters, observation haki listened to the surroundings, and suddenly heard a lot of good breaths. Immediately stare into the distance. Huh? That's. In the extreme distance of the field of vision, a small black dot can be seen. Luffy quickly approached, and the black dot magnified in view. It was a pirate ship, and 2 huge sea camels sailed the ship. 9 snake pirates, perfume snake. With a slight smile, Luffy immediately accelerated and rushed over. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. Marines are busy cleaning up the mess and cleaning up the battlefield. The 100,000 Marine elites suffered countless deaths and injuries, and even many officers at the rank of generals were injured. Quick. Move those stones away. Vice Admiral, the Flying Squirrel, with his head covered in bandages, commanded his subordinates with a heavy face. Time is life. The soldiers buried below are still alive, and I can hear voices. Hurry up. Yes, Vice Admiral. Similar scenes are happening all over the island. The ruins of the execution platform. Sengoku sat on the boulder with his arms bare and weary. Still remembering the previous war in my mind. Careless. Now to review everything. When the 3 admirals left their seats one after another, the Straw Hat Luffy easily approached the execution platform. If at that time, I could maintain enough vigilance, I wouldn't let him rescue people easily. The responsibility is on him. Sengoku sighed, then, looking slightly sideways. Garp walked towards him with Zephyr on his arm, both wounded. Seeing this guy, Sengoku was furious. Garp. Well done to your grandson. I've been scammed all over the place, you bastard. Feel sorry. Instead of laughing out loud as usual, Garp apologized in a depressed mood. Sengoku froze for a moment. Garp supported Zephyr, and made him sit on the rock as well. About this matter. I knew from the very beginning that Luffy was going to save someone. He and Ace were sworn brothers. I was the one who concealed it. Garp finally sat down and sighed. I'll take the responsibility. At this point, what's the point of saying these words? You can't bear the responsibility, Garp. I'm the marshal. Sengoku has a complex expression, but it's not that he can't understand Garp's mood. Being caught in the middle is really hard to do. Sengoku, you. Zephyr was stunned, and from Sengoku's tone, he heard something unusual. I'm tired. Let the young man take the position of marshal. Sengoku spoke blankly. In this war, Marine killed Whitebeard and achieved the greatest purpose. But the rest of the above-mentioned goals almost all failed. Fire Fist Ace was rescued, and the main force of the Whitebeard pirates remained intact. Although the 43 pirates suffered heavy losses, they were far from being annihilated. No Straw Hat Luffy left. The prisoners from Impelled Down have all escaped, and the ordinary prisoners are also ignored, those evil gangsters from Eternal Hell. The crimes committed by those people are too vicious, they are monster pirates erased from history. All this needs to be undertaken by one person. Sengoku to bear. I will submit my resignation to the higher-ups. Saying so, he looked at Zephyr, frowned and said, "Why are you covered in injuries?" Zephyr had a bandage on his head, and said helplessly, "I was drinking tea in the headquarters, and I was hit with one fist, and I was almost killed by." "Ha ha ha ha. The old man came to save you at the first time, Zephyr, thank me." "Isn't that what your grandson did?" Zephyr's face darkened. "Don't be angry. Do you want to eat senbei?" The other side. In front of the inner bay, Moria commanded a group of zombies and helped him salvage Oz's body. Thick chains sank into the sea, pulling the corpse upwards little by little. Fur. The others are gone. Are you still busy here?" Behind him came Doflamingo's low chuckle. Moria said without looking back. "This is a precious corpse, Doflamingo. You can't understand the beauty of zombies. They are invincible soldiers who will never die in battle. It's a pity that Whitebeard's body was taken away by the red-haired guy. Even if you pick it up, how do you transport such a big man?" He. You don't need to worry about it." Moria smiled triumphantly, and suddenly, her pupils shrank. Dropping ruffian string. Doflamingo raised his arm up and swung it down. Immediately, 5 forked silk threads passed through Moria's body obliquely downward from behind. With a wow, Moria spat out blood. He turned his head in disbelief and stared at the other party. "You? Fufurfur, don't blame me, I also got such an order." Doflamingo took the pace of a street runner, with the corners of his mouth raised, full of sarcasm. "Sengoku. Why?" Moria didn't understand. He obediently obeyed and came to participate in the summit war. Although not much effort, although the purpose is for the corpse, but at least there is a little bit of hard work. "No, higher up." Doflamingo grinned, stretched out his finger and pointed to the sky. "I'm also curious, what did you do to make them care?" "Above. 5 elders." Moria's complexion changed, and she suddenly thought of something. "Damn it. Shadow Mage." The shadows in the sun quickly elongated and turned into bats flying all over the sky. Perfume snake pirate ship. The red poop is the captain's boudoir. The Empress sat on the edge of the tent, resting her chin with one hand, muttering in ecstasy. "Luffy, are you all right?" The 2 younger sisters stood in front of them, looking at each other with helplessness on their faces. "My lord, the lunch is ready. Do you want to bring it in?" Sandersonia said softly. "It has been almost an hour since I came back from the headquarters, and it has been in this state. I'm not hungry, compared to this. Luffy will be targeted in the future, I'm very worried." The Empress bit her nails, feeling uneasy. Marigold smiled wryly. "My lord, that bad man is very powerful. We all saw it in the live broadcast. An admiral can't do anything about him. But Marine has 3 admirals, and the government also has other power crystals." The Empress frowned slightly. "It's all right. Don't worry, my lord. Even if you encounter any danger, doesn't that guy have a lot of magical fruits? There is always a way. Compared with this, let's eat some quickly." Speaking of fruit, the Empress suddenly remembered something. She took out a small self-healing fruit from her chest, raised her head and said to the 2 younger sisters. "Luffy gave me a self-healing fruit. There is a way to remove the mark on your body. But, there is only one for the time being." Just as he was speaking, a 4th voice suddenly sounded in the room. "I just spent 10 years of life and got 10 more. The 3 sisters were startled, and immediately looked towards the window. Luffy graciously jumped in from the window. "Why are you so proficient?" "Luffy." The Empress's eyes were full of surprise. "Didn't you leave with the red hair?" "Got lost. Thankfully saw your ship." Of course, such words that damage the image cannot be said. Luffy said. "Suddenly I miss you guys a little bit, so I came to see you. By the way, lunch is ready." At the redhead's place, they were all drunk. "Sonia, Luffy is hungry, bring the food here." The Empress immediately gave instructions to her sister. "Yes. My sis." Sandersonia reluctantly went out to prepare food. Marigold glared at him indignantly. "What does it mean to miss some of us? You are just here for dinner." A hateful man, my elder sister was fascinated by him. Noticing her gaze, Luffy laughed and took out the previous self-healing fruit. "Here you go. The fruit that was originally used to ensure safety is no longer needed." Throw it to the third sister of the Empress. Marigold received the fruit, so he couldn't stare at him anymore. He cannibalized people with short mouths and treat people softly. Thinking about it carefully, my elder sister is pregnant with his child, and sooner or later she will also be a brother-in-law. Well, it is appropriate to accept a gift from a brother-in-law, no problem. Marigold explained to himself, and immediately said, Master Luffy, my sister has been worrying about you before. It's really a little troublesome. Luffy shook his head, sat down at the table, and poured himself a glass of wine. The Empress likes red wine very much, even on the boat, she often drinks it. Is there any concubine who can help me? The Empress quickly got up and sat across the table. Luffy glanced at her and smiled. Soon, Sandersonia brought a sumptuous food, and Luffy was not polite, and began to eat happily. The Empress gave her the self-healing fruit in her hand. Mary, Sonia, you all have it now, eat it. The two sisters were very moved. To remove that emblem is to bid farewell to the past, and they will never be inferior again. Shall I take a look for you? Luffy teased. The two gave him a blank look, but they still said, Thanks, thank you, Lord Luffy. Sister, let's go to the bathroom to take a shower, you take it easy. Saying that, the two left together. Thinking that the three of her sisters would no longer need to deceive the people, nor would they be dominated by that emblem, the Empress was in a very good mood, and a happy smile appeared on her delicate face. Luffy, thank you. How can verbal thanks be enough? You're not sincere, woman. Why? The Empress was stunned for a moment. Sincerity. My brain subconsciously thought about how to express my gratitude. Come here, sit on my lap. Luffy stepped back in the chair a little and patted his thigh. The Queen blinked her eyes and suddenly became nervous. Sitting on a man's lap is the first time, but for Luffy, it's okay. I've been hugged before, and I don't have any special resistance in my heart. She got up and walked around the dining table, obediently sat on Luffy's lap, showing some embarrassment. Is that all right? She whispered. Luffy hugged the Empress's waist generously, and her other hand became restless. Hancock, in my hometown, when a woman thanked her for saving her life, it was a promise with her body. I fell in love with it, and I promised myself with my body. I didn't like it. That's a little girl who can't repay her, and the doctor is like a cow and a horse. Of course Luffy doesn't need to do anything, he said with a smile. I'll teach you what it means to make a promise with your body. The Empress was confused, her body felt a little hot, and her face was slightly red. Mosquito-repellent incense was already lit on a pair of big eyes, and I was so dizzy that I didn't know what to do. The other side. The two sisters ate the fruit of self-healing in the bathroom, watching each other's backs. The slave mark that was originally branded on the back has completely disappeared at this moment. What a magical power, it really disappeared. The two sisters looked at each other and cried out excitedly. At this moment, Marigold secretly decided not to call Luffy a bad man in his heart anymore. It's a good man. Good brother-in-law. For them, this kind of kindness is greater than the kindness of saving lives. Sister Sonia. Why, Mary. Sandersonia wiped away her tears, you must treat Lord Luffy well from now on. Yes, I was rude before. Let's go, we have to apologize. After the two of them took a shower, put on their clothes, and came to the Queen's boudoir again, they showed puzzled expressions. In the room, there was a strange sound. What's wrong, my sis? The sound is so strange. Marigold was at a loss as to whether he should knock on the door or not. I don't know, is my sis injured? Sandersonia is also unknown. They looked at each other. Let's not disturb Lord Luffy's meal for the time being. That night, Luffy woke up in the Queen's bed. When she woke up, the Empress was nowhere to be seen. Observation Haki sensed it, and the girl ran to take a bath. It is true that I have been tired all afternoon and my body is sweating, so it is necessary to take a bath. He put on a coat casually, got up and poured himself a cup of tea. At this time, Qiwuhai and Sonia rushed in hastily. My sis. My Lord Luffy. What's wrong? Luffy turned to look at him. I saw Sandersonia holding a newspaper, handed it to him quickly, and said solemnly. Master Luffy, you have been offered a reward by the government again. When he took the newspaper, a new reward order fell from the newspaper's interlayer. Fell to the floor. Monkey D. Luffy life or death. 3,500,000,000. The photo of the reward order is clearly his Nika form. Luffy bent down to pick up the reward order and looked at it calmly. To be expected. Soaring from 71 million to 3.5 billion, to be honest, it is actually low. Up to 4 billion is more in line with his strength and the degree of threat to the government. Probably because he doesn't have a group of powerful subordinates like other 4 emperors. There are 2 other places that are different from before. First, only live capture is allowed, and it has become life or death. Second, the photo becomes a Ni-Ka form. Lord Luffy, with such a high bounty, there will definitely be a big marine admiral watching you all the time. Sandersonia expressed concern. Luffy put the reward order aside, opened the newspaper and glanced briefly. The headline on the front page was, of course, the death of Whitebeard. As the most important news in recent years, Morgans acted very quickly. What happened in the morning was in the newspapers in the evening. The article praised Marine's bravery and invincibility, but didn't say a word about the escape of Fire Fist Ace. Win. Anyone can win. The newspaper also detailed that he, the former 7 warlords of the sea, fought back during the Summit War, destroyed naval headquarters, and caused huge casualties to Marine. Nonsense. Most of the Marine casualties came from the war itself. The government is pouring dirty water on him. Luffy smiled disdainfully. This is definitely not news written by Morgas, it is definitely inspired by the world government. In a few days, there will be good fruits for you to eat. Luffy. At this time, the Empress who had taken a bath came in with a scent of fragrance after bathing. Seeing her sister, Sandersonia was surprised. Compared with the past, the current elder sister is more coquettish. Hancock, I'm going back to the capital of 7 Waters as soon as possible, so I won't be with you for now. Luffy handed her the newspaper, and then asked, Sonia, which direction is the capital of the 7 Waters? The ship is now sailing in the direction of Daughter's Island, the capital of the 7 Waters, at 3 o'clock. Thanks. As he said that, Luffy quickly changed his clothes, walked to the window, and opened the Nika form. Although it is night now, it doesn't matter anymore, and we must rush back as soon as possible. Oh, it's all the Empress's fault, causing him to waste an afternoon and save energy for a month. Wait. Luffy, I will send you to the capital of 7 Waters. There is no record pointer on the Grand Line, it is easy to get lost. The Empress spoke worriedly. Her face was full of reluctance, after all, the two had just made out. Luffy shook his head and said, I'll see you next time, take care, Hancock. As he spoke, he jumped up and flew away from the window. In the night sky, the sun streaks across the sky. The Empress hurriedly walked to the window, her slender fingers gripped the newspaper tightly. Nothing to do, Luffy, just as Luffy was rushing to the capital of 7 Waters. There are also people traveling in the air. What does the bear mean? After the war, I'm not me anymore. What the hell happened outside while I was in prison? Ivankov scratched his dark purple afro. A figure emerged from his hair. The man's hairstyle is similar to the Club Blossom in the playing cards. The left half of his hair is orange and the right half is white, and he holds a glass of red wine in his left hand. Master Ivankov, you can see the island now, it's Bardigo. Lightning, you are here, you scared me to death, haha. Ivankov was startled, his eyes popped out. He immediately followed the direction of the lightning and saw an island. Isle of White Clay, Baltigo. A barren island full of sand and rocks. At the same time, it is also the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. The transparent bear's paw enveloping the two of them dropped rapidly, and finally landed in front of a base built among the rocks with a boom. Before the two got up from the ground. Under the night, a gust of wind blew by, and a man in a green cloak immediately appeared in front of the two of them. Ivankov. Long said in astonishment, suddenly felt 2 auras, it turned out to be you. Dragon. Do you have a son? As soon as we met, Ivankov couldn't help but said, Monkey D. Luffy? Long was silent for a while, then nodded. I didn't mention it to you, sorry, but I don't like people prying into my past. After being confirmed, Ivankov crossed his arms and said with emotion. As expected of your son, he is as powerful as a monster. Have you watched the live broadcast of Summit War? What's going on with you guys? Long was silent, looked down at the bare paw-shaped depression under the two people's feet, and immediately understood. This is Shang's ability, it was Shang who sent the two of them flying. By the way, about your son, he has important information. Finally remembering the business, Ivankov immediately told Long the news that Luffy wanted to convey. After listening, Long looked shocked. Nero na Imsen. 800 years ago, one of the original 20 lords who created the world government? Such a person does exist. Not only he, but even Ivankov had heard the name. Is the intelligence true? Have you lived until now? Long frowned. Your son said it, you have to ask him. Hehe. Anyway, my mission is completed. That guy Shang. My subordinates are still in Marineford, won't they be arrested again? Ignoring Ivankov's complaints, the dragon fell into deep thought. It was obvious that Luffy had deliberately asked someone to bring him this kind of information. After pondering for a moment, he took out an anti-tapping phone bug. This is the headquarters of Shijing. I'm Morgan's. If you have this number and dare to call, you must have some important news? A slightly sharp voice came from the opposite side. I am a revolutionary, dragon. Far away in the headquarters of the World Economic News Agency in New World. It was an airship. In the office, the pupils of King of News, Morgan's suddenly shrank. Revolutionary dragon? Isn't that the leader of the Revolutionary Army? I have important news. Once I report to the public, it will cause a shock all over the world. Listening to the sound of the phone bug ringing, Morgan's became excited. Please tell me, the remuneration will definitely satisfy you. You don't need to be paid, because once published in the newspaper, you might be hunted down by the world government. So serious. Not only was Morgaz not afraid, but she felt her blood was boiling. Please tell me, about celestial dragons. Go back in time a little. About a month ago. The capital of Seven Waters. On an outlying island in the outer city, there is a disintegration business that specializes in dismantling abandoned ships. Its owner is Franky, and while running this job, he also has a side job as a bounty hunter. When the Straw Hat Pirates landed on the island, their subordinates also came to report immediately. Brother Franky, on the south coast, 7 warlords of the Sea Straw Hat Luffy's pirate ship can fly in the sky. I've never seen such a ship before. Franky sat on the dilapidated sofa, holding a bottle of Coke in his hand, and drank heavily. A ship flying in the sky. Yes. Not only that, but that ship was made of gold, an unbelievable amount. The subordinates were struggling to describe what they saw. The appearance of dancing seemed extremely excited. Franky was dumbfounded. Impossible, there is so much gold. According to your description, I'm afraid there are tens of thousands of tons? Did they find the legendary gold town? Tens of thousands of tons sounds like a lot, but it's actually not much. On the Earth, human beings currently mine about 220,000 tons of gold. If all the gold is piled up together, it is about a cube with a side length of 22 meters. To put it more intuitively, Yinyu is a small building with 7 floors. It's true, Brother Franky, if you don't believe me, go and see, the ship is hovering over there. Under the leadership of the younger brothers, Franky came to the stop of Straw Hat crew. Even if it is far away, under the sunlight, the light reflected by the gold is very exciting. There are so many. Franky widened his eyes in disbelief, subconsciously began to calculate, how much is this? The current market price of a ton of gold is about 1 billion peli. That ship simply counted him 10,000 tons, a total of 10 trillion Baileys. Unbelievable wealth is in sight. This is not an invincible country, but how many islands and countries can be bought? Of course, except for some big countries, such as Alabasta. Big brother, don't you want to snatch it? The younger brother swallowed, that's Shichibukai's ship. What is a Shichibukai? Who do you think I am? Franky pointed at the Ark motto, grinned and said. Go. Take me to meet those pirates and ask them if they need help. Franky patted him on the head. What are you doing in a daze? We are businessmen. Yes, businessman. The subordinates agreed helplessly, and then led Franky towards Zoro and the others. Back to the present time. At night, the capital of Seven Waters, Yinchang district. A small bar. There is a closed sign on the door of the bar. But in the bar, there is one person gathered here. They seem to be attending a masquerade ball, wearing gorgeous but strange costumes, and wearing different hoods on their heads. The owner of this bar is called Bluno. He was wearing a black suit and had horn-like hair. At this time, while wiping the glass, he said honestly. What are your plans for tonight? One of the voices was female and she said. According to the investigation, although it cannot be confirmed 100%, but the things are in the hands of the target, the possibility is extremely high. But this month, he was on the Golden Ship, helping the Straw Hat crew to transform the ship. The purpose seems to be it is to earn gold. The other two looked at each other and spoke one after another. They were both men. To be honest, it is indeed a huge sum of money, and it is only natural that that guy would be tempted. Shichibukai's words, "Don't care anymore. This is today's news. Spread a newspaper on the table, and at the same time, there is a reward order. Straw Hat Luffy's Shichibukai title has been stripped, act now tonight. 3.5 billion. The woman was taken aback. Whether it's 3.5 billion or 35 billion, I don't think it's important. We have only one goal. What about Nico Robin? Leave her alone. Can't afford it. Several people looked at each other. Bluno puts the glass next, he said honestly. How to do it specifically? Separate action. Kaku and I go to arrest people, you go to Carrera Company, cause a commotion. Hearing this, Bluno bent down and took out a fancy dress from under the bar, and also put on a hood. Afterwards, the four immediately took action. Taking advantage of the darkness, they walked in the air without disturbing anyone. The next day, when the morning sun shone on the capital of Seven Waters, Luffy finally arrived at his destination. From a distance, I saw the Ark Monument, still suspended in midair as it was when I left. It's just that the ship has changed a lot since it left. Become more beautiful. Finally found it, and almost lost my way to Alabasta again. Luffy immediately activated the ability of the Sunlight Fruit, quickly recovering her physical strength. His return route can be described as twists and turns. I almost ran to Alabasta, and turned around to find the capital of Seven Waters, and saw the Long Chain Island in the middle. In a place like the Grand Line, it is really impossible to not have a record pointer. Even if you can fly, you can easily get lost. At this time, unfolding his knowledge, he was suddenly taken aback. In the knowledgeable perception, almost everyone in the Straw Hats gathered on the deck of the Ark Monument. Strange breath, immediately, he hurried over. Coming to the deck, I immediately saw Nami and Vivi et al. Luffy. Nami's eyes lit up, and she ran over happily, throwing herself into his arms like a baby swallow returning to its nest. Sniff. Sniffing like a puppy waiting for its owner to return, Nami said suspiciously. Smell good. Luffy. You are a dog, you really forgot to take a bath, and the smell of the Empress still lingers on your body. Mr. Luffy. Vivi greeted with a smile. Luffy. Lord Luffy. Brother Luffy. A group of people gathered around. Luffy immediately changed the subject. These people. Only then did he see that there were 4 people tightly bound on the deck, 3 men and 1 woman. Member of World Government's Agent CP9. They are Rob Lucci, Kaku, Khalifa, and Bluno. About this, I am going to ask you how to deal with it. Nami just wanted to explain. Franky with a hammer came over. You're Straw Hat Luffy. These guys came after me, last night. Last night, Kaku and Lu Chi took advantage of the late night to sneak into the Ark Proverbs, but they were discovered by the knowledgeable Zoro at the first time. Afterwards, it was naturally defeated by the Straw Hat crew. You know, there are more than a dozen capable people here. 5 of them have completely mastered the 6 styles, and there are more than 8 people who have mastered 3 of the 6 styles. There are only 2 special agents, they are all here to deliver food. On the other hand, Bluno and Khalifa raided the Carrera Company, trying to force the Mayor Bingshan, and they did cause a commotion. Afterwards, Nami, who was rushed, gave a second move. I see. After listening, Luffy found it interesting. CP9 gave up Robin, but not Franky. And Franky, coincidentally wanted gold, because of Shichibukai's prestige, he didn't dare to force it, so he had to work to make money. So, it became what it is now. Looking at the Straw Hat Luffy walking towards him and others, Rob Lucci said in a deep voice. We have no intention of making you an enemy, Monkey D. Luffy, just a man named Franky. Luffy grinned and said, I know your identities. The person who masters the 6 styles is either a Marine or a government agent. I probably know what you are looking for. Blueprint of Pluton. Hearing this, the pupils of several people shrank suddenly. Give you a chance to choose. Join me now, continue to work for me, or die. Facing the choice given by Luffy, the 4 government agents were all silent. As spies raised by the government since childhood, Their loyalty to the world government is unquestionable. Don't rush to answer. I will kindly give you a few days to think. Luffy said lightly. He didn't care about the combat power of these people, but the identity of government agents might come in handy. Minibus. Yes, Lord Luffy. Your faithful little brother has been waiting for your gift. Bartolomeo came over quickly. Prison these few people, and you will take care of them. Yes. After simply dealing with these people, Luffy looked at Franky. You did all the transformation of this ship? Such a big ship. How can one person change it into this within a month? The people from Shrella. The two people just helped. Franky shook his head. Rob Lucci and Kaku, the superficial identities of these two people in the capital of Seven Waters, are the foremen of the shipyard of Carrera Company. So it's a government spy? Franky frowned vaguely. Being targeted by government spies. Of course he knows what the target is. The target is the blueprint for the ancient weapon Pluton hidden on your body. Luffy said it in one breath, which immediately surprised everyone. Huh. The blueprint for Pluton? The ancient weapon? Usopp opened his mouth wide. Franky's complexion changed, pretending to be puzzled. What are you talking about? Blueprints. More than 800 years ago, the worst warship in the history of shipbuilding, the super battleship built by the capital of Seven Waters, is now known as Pluton, one of the three ancient weapons. Luffy smiled and said, Don't worry, I'm not interested in the blueprint in your hand. The Pluton that has been built by 240 is sleeping in Wano Kuni. What does he want the blueprint for? Even if you want to make it, you don't know how much manpower, material resources, and time it will cost. The only force in the world that can satisfy these forces is the world government. Franky's face darkened. He didn't understand why the Straw Hat Luffy would know these. Only he himself knows the secret of the blueprints. Luffy suddenly yelled. The next moment, Robin came over and twisted his waist to stick to Luffy, with a charming expression all over his face. Captain Luffy, slave. Robin is here. Luffy has a chill, dead ladyboy, ran. The next moment, I heard the authentic Robin's voice from behind. 6 rounds of blossoms, slap combos. I saw 6 hands suddenly grew from Robin's body, and they slapped themselves in the face. Ah. What are you doing, Robin? I'm going to burn my face. Mr. 2 was slapped into a pig's head, but he didn't dare to resist, and was finally beaten out of the prototype. Don't use my appearance to do such embarrassing things. Robin said solemnly, as a woman, I feel very ashamed. Mr. 5 Boogerman laughed loudly. It deserves it, ha ha ha. Captain, Miss Robin, let me help you teach him a lesson. Too lazy to talk to Bentham, Luffy turned to Robin and said. I'll take you to the iceberg and take care of the rest. Nami, is the record pointer ready? The magnetic force here has been preserved for a week, but the pointer is a bit strange, and it is slightly biased downward. Nami raised his left hand and showed Luffy the record pointer. The needle pointing to the next island moved slightly downwards. The next island it points to is the paradise under the sea, the Fishman Island. Luffy explained. But before that, we have to cross the Devil's Triangle Sea area. First, everyone, get ready, it's time to set sail. As he spoke, he wrapped one arm around Robin's waist, and with the other hand grabbed Franky who was trying to escape. I'll go to the Carrera Company and settle the remuneration with the mayor. The next moment, amidst Franky's yell, he flew towards the central area of the capital of Seven Waters. Bingberg suffered some injuries in last night's attack. At this time, the mayor's mansion. He was leaning on the bed alone, with a bandage on his forehead, and looked out the window with a serious face. He recalled the admonition Straw Hat Luffy had whispered in his ear a month ago. Your secretary is a government spy. The sentence came true last night. The government kept an eye on Pluton's blueprints, even placing spies at his side years ago. What to do? Bingshan was thinking, without any clue. With his strength, how should he protect the capital of Seven Waters and that blueprint? Last night, it was clear what to do, and the government must have gradually lost patience. At this time, a figure rushed in from the window and rolled the curtains. Your Excellency Luffy. Bingshan looked at Franky in Luffy's hand in astonishment, and his expression changed immediately. The blueprint is on him. Luffy said straight to the point. His craftsmanship is very good. I am going to take him away as a reward for you to rebuild the ship for me, and I will bear the design of Pluton for you. What? Bingshan was shocked. What do you mean? Robin showed a sudden look. I see. After a pause, she smiled and said, Mayor Bingshan, our captain means that the blueprint will be handed over to you for safekeeping, and Franky, we will take it away. The government will focus on us, you, and your capital of 7 waters, is safe. It's really Luffy's way, she thought. Bingshan said in disbelief. Lord Luffy, how do you know this? Franky told you. How could I say such a thing? Franky resolutely denied. Bingshan, didn't you tell him? Both brothers and sisters looked at Luffy together. Luffy said, it's not important. I don't need to lie to you. This Nico Robin beside me, you have met before. If I am interested in blueprints, I won't talk nonsense with you here. There are blueprints. There are archaeologists who can read ancient literature. It is indeed possible to resurrect Pluton. Bingshan understood what he meant, and stood up from the bed at once. Why does it have to be done to this extent for us? I said, this is your reward for building a ship for me. Wen Yan. Franky finally came to his senses and pointed to himself. That is to say, I have to get on his boat. Let's just report to the government. Straw Hat Crew robbed an excellent boatman Franky in the capital of 7 waters. Luffy said with a half smile. How? Thump. Bingshan immediately knelt down and bowed his head in a big salute. I will never forget this kindness, Lord Luffy. Franky was full of reluctance, and finally, under Bingshan's persuasion, he returned the drawings hidden in his body to Bingshan. So farewell, Mayor Bingshan. After finishing the last thing, Luffy grabbed Franky, picked up Robin, and flew away from the window in the blink of an eye. On the way back, Franky reluctantly accepted the reality. He also understood that the iceberg and blueprints would be safe only if he got on the thief ship. But he couldn't help but ask, since you have the power to resurrect Pluton, why don't you do it? Straw Hat Luffy. Luffy didn't answer. Robin smiled and said, because my captain knows exactly where the real Pluton is. Franky. Sure enough, a cunning pirate. Ha ha ha, let's go. Leave the capital of 7 waters early. If you don't leave, trouble will come to your door. Luffy laughed, and led the two back to the docking point of the boat. All 3 ships are ready to sail. Wait, at least let me say goodbye to my little brothers. There's no need, you'll be back here before long. Leaving Franky on the Mary, Luffy took Robin to the Sunny. Set sail. Under an order from the captain, the ship slowly left the capital of 7 waters where it had been staying for a month. Holy land, Mariajoy. Boom. 5 elders slapped the table angrily. They looked at today's World Economic News with extremely ugly faces. Morgas, the damn bastard, dares to write anything up. Sa Tansheng, who was on crutches, said through gritted teeth. The content on the news is too explosive. The headline of the news read, Shock. Master of the Void Throne. Amazing discovery of the revolutionary dragon. News content adopts a question and answer manuscript. In Long's answer, a person named, I Am, was clearly named, and he claimed that this person is the master behind the world government and the master of 5 elders. Below this sentence, Morgas also kindly explained to the readers what is the Void Throne, what is the Creator, and what is the 5 elders. In short, in the headquarters of the world government, in the depths of Pengu City, there is a Void Throne that symbolizes equality, which means that no one can rule over the country. All kings are equal. Celestial dragons are gods and creators of the world, but they are also equal inside. This is the concept promoted by the world government, and it is also the jurisprudence for this huge organization to rule the world. Now this foundation has been shaken. 5 elders didn't know what the kings of the major alliance countries would think after seeing this news, they just wanted to kill Morgas immediately. Notify the CPO immediately to stop the dissemination of this interview paper. 5 elders decisively issued an order. Take Morgan under control, quickly. When necessary, kill this person. Yes. The subordinates were ordered to go, and as soon as he left, Sengoku asked to meet him not long after. 5 elders, who was having a headache about this matter, also had to find time to meet Marshal Marine. What does this mean? Sengoku. Seidan-san frowned at Sengoku's resignation letter. All responsibility for the summit war rests with me. I am no longer qualified to be the marshal. I request to step down. Sengoku spoke with a calm face. What are you kidding? Made a mess and now you want to slap your ass and leave it alone? I nominate Admiral Aokiji as the next marshal. Sengoku said to himself. 5 elders are furious, as this bastard for Garp? To take all the responsibility alone is to fight thunder for Garp. 5 elders holding swords, Nashao Langshang narrowed his eyes. Rejected. You can resign if you want to, wipe your ass clean. And, regarding the next marshal, it is more appropriate to be disgusted. Akainu is too murderous. Sengoku insisted. The old man with a goatee, Mazashang's face turned black. Pay attention to your tone, Sengoku. This is not something that should be decided by you. Hearing this, Sengoku didn't mention the next marshal. I will finish the follow-up. Now I will report 3 things to you. First, the original 7 warlords of the Sea Straw Hat Luffy, and the original 7 warlords of the Sea Gecko Moria, and the original king. Next, Shichibukai Jinbei. These 3 Shichibukai have left, and now there are 3 vacancies. Second, in this war, naval headquarters suffered heavy losses. In order to restore order as soon as possible, I propose to expand the conscription and recruit naval soldiers from all over the world. Third, the reconstruction of naval headquarters. Hearing this, 5 elders was silent for a moment. It is indeed a little trouble to walk 3 Shichibukai at once. Seraphim's plans aren't really finished yet, at least for now a new Shichibukai is needed. As for the second and third things, it's not a big deal, it's asking for money. Conscription costs money, of course, and it still costs a lot. The money will be given to you, but what about the prisoners in Impel Down? Hasn't the list been counted yet? Already counting. Fortunately Commissioner Magellan is alive, just missing a leg. That bastard, with such a serious prison escape, don't think that he can still be his director safely. The 5 elders were furious. Net is some trouble. It's all trash. Sengoku was silent for a moment, and couldn't help asking. About Straw Hat Luffy, I know the blonde 5 elders. Peter Street interrupted him immediately. Don't ask more about things you shouldn't know. You go, and someone will send you the money later. Sengoku frowned slightly. He wondered why the 5 elders valued Straw Hat Luffy so much. Yesterday, after Whitebeard's death, Crane Vice Admiral was given orders to chase down the Straw Hats regardless of the escaped ace and the escaped prisoner. However, although he didn't get an answer from 5 elders, he also realized the problem. Maybe Garp knows something, Tianjian asked him directly. So, goodbye. Sengoku turned and left. After he left, there was a sudden silence in the office for a long time. Don't let Straw Hat Luffy live. The Straw Hat crew should be in the capital of 7 Waters. No, that guy is not an idiot. He dared to turn his back and save people in the Summit War. This was obviously premeditated, which shows that this kid is very scheming. Let Akainu go. It was proposed, but rejected. Sa Tanshang took out a phone bug and quickly dialed a number. Not long after, an old man with a sword at his waist walked in. He has a strange crescent haircut. I have something important for you. Hearing this, the old man narrowed his eyes slightly. What important matter requires our god's knights to dispatch? You didn't even read yesterday's news, did you? Figalando Grincourt. Sa Tanshang said in a deep voice. During the Summit War, an unbearable traitor appeared. You don't have to ask any questions, just kill this person. As he spoke, he handed over a reward order to the other party. Green GU accepted the reward order, looked at the person in the photo, and fell into deep thought. Monkey D. Luffy. 3.5 billion. The actual combat power is comparable to 4 emperors, don't be careless. New. Discarding the arrest warrant casually, Liu Lington turned and left. The moment he turned around, the reward order floating in the air was cut into 7 sections. 5 elders was slightly taken aback. This guy's sword skills have improved again? As expected of the king, who used to be active in the Valley of the Gods. Supreme Commander of the Knights of God, the real power of celestial dragons. Recruit Franky, a qualified shipbuilder, a reformer, and reward 300 adventure coins. You have sailed in the sea of a paradise for 1 day, and you will be rewarded with 100 adventure coins. Adventure coin. 21,545 Adventure Warehouse. Hockey Fruit 7, 6 Style Fruit 2.0, Longevity Fruit 3. During the 7 days in Marineford, Luffy bought some more things, including a self-healing fruit, which of course has been given to the Empress sister. On a new day, Luffy opened the adventure store and took a look, and saw a new product by accident. Fruit of reading words. After using it, you can master the ability of reading words. If you communicate with people who have also eaten the fruit of reading words, there is no limit to the distance and the price is 300 adventure coins. It's not a new product either, if I remember correctly, he had seen this on the first day of crossing. Isn't it just a phone bug? Luffy blinked. The phone bug itself is a wonderful creature. After humans install some equipment on it, it has the function of the phone in the previous life. It can release a kind of thought wave, which can communicate with the same kind and transmit information. But I don't know what it's useful for, but I bought it and gave it a try. Rich, willful, with a flash of white light, a light yellow fruit appeared in Luffy's hand. After eating, he mastered the history of cold words. As if he was born with it, he immediately understood how to use this ability. At this moment, Wei Wei concentrated his attention and released a wave of invisible thoughts, which could reach as far as 10 kilometers away. Beyond this distance, the jambop will quickly fall and disappear. Hey, is there anyone? Transmit the words in your heart in the form of thoughts. At this moment, whether it is the Sunny, the Melee, or the Ark flying in the sky. Everyone on the 3 ships heard this sentence. To be precise, the voice sounded directly in my heart. Ah. Sunny, Kaya room. Early in the morning, Kaya, who was getting dressed, was taken aback. She hurriedly covered her chest, turned her head to look at the door with a red face, but there was no figure. Mr. Luffy? She murmured in confusion. Are you hallucinating? Nuoqigao's room. Nuoqigao, who was soundly asleep, rubbed her sleepy eyes, and said in a daze. Luffy's voice. Kitchen. Humming in a happy mood, Vivi, who prepared breakfast for everyone, was also taken aback. I looked around, but didn't see Luffy's figure. Nami, who just got out of the shower, walked onto the deck while wiping her wet hair. On the figurehead of the Sunny, she saw Luffy. Are you calling me? Luffy. After a month, Nami finally had moisture again, and this morning she looked particularly radiant. Luffy. As this group hair. He used his knowledge to perceive the situation on the 3 ships, because everyone was frightened. Nami, listen carefully. This time, Nami was locked directly, and Nianhua was used again. Nami paused when she wiped her hair, wide-eyed. Voice of heart? She didn't see Luffy's mouth move. Ha ha ha, is it interesting? Luffy couldn't help laughing. It's not interesting at all, it's so scary. Nami gave him a blank look, and asked curiously, what kind of ability is this? It's like the thought wave of a phone bug. Luffy explained simply. Have you become a phone bug? Good rant. Luffy laughed and jumped off the figurehead. Went over to give Nami a good morning kiss. I'll meet Chopper next door. A breakfast is coming, eh? New. Merry number on the watchtower, seeing Luffy approaching, Zoro, who was in charge of the night watch, jumped down. Luffy, were you talking just now? Morning, Zoro, your armed color hasn't awakened yet? For a whole month, he didn't receive the system prompt of Zoro's awakening. It feels like I have mastered something, but I'm still close to breaking something. Zoro frowned. He is now able to break Mr. 3's candle wall with one punch, and it can be broken by brute force. But armament hockey is still almost there, just a close call. I asked Chopper to prepare something nice for you. Saying so, Luffy opened the hatch next to the mast and jumped down. Number 2 crew quarters. Usopp and Franky are fiddling in the warehouse while Sanji prepares breakfast in the kitchen. At this time, there were only 3 people in the room. Johnny and Joseph were still soundly asleep, and only Chopper was flipping through the book. Chopper. Aha. Chopper, who screamed in fright, turned his head and saw Luffy, and raised his paw to wipe away the non-existent cold sweat. It scares me to death every time, Luffy. Hey, just now, is there anyone, is it you too? Luffy walked over with a smile and stroked the cute reindeer. What are you looking at so seriously? You gave me the lifespan fruit before, and I'm recording its experiments. Chopper said in frustration. I extracted the special ingredients in the fruit, and did several experiments with the dying fish that Sanji gave me. In this month, I have no clue at all, and the fish still died. I seem to have destroyed some kind of integrity. The fruit of life must be used in its entirety. For this result, Luffy doesn't care. It is just a fruit of longevity. If it is wasted, it will be wasted. Rich, willful, immediately, he took out 14 6-style fruits. All these are used to make body-strengthening water, and strive to let everyone master the 6 styles. So much. Chopper exclaimed. Where did you buy it? Luffy took out another hockey fruit and said, this is called the hockey fruit. Those who eat it will awaken the power of hockey. Try it and see if it can be like the 6 style fruit. I know. For everyone's growth, I will definitely work hard. Chopper is used to Luffy taking out some magical fruits that he has never seen before. That's up to you, Dr. Chopper. Stupid, even if you praise me, I won't be happy. While talking, suddenly, Zoro's urgent voice came from outside. Luffy, there is a situation. Hearing this, Luffy went up to the deck immediately, and Chopper also climbed up after storing the fruit. Franky and Usopp also came out of the warehouse. Everyone looked at the scene in front of them in surprise. It was still morning, but suddenly there was a thick fog, and it was dark in a blink of an eye. Zoro spoke with a serious expression. What's going on here? Usopp shook his head. Franky grinned. That's right, don't take it lightly, we should have entered that famous sea area, the Devil's Triangle. Sanji came out from the kitchen and also saw the black sky. Devil's Triangle waters. I've heard that there are hundreds of missing ships in this place every year. Ah. Usopp's face turned green with fright. Is this place haunted? Quickly took out a cross from the pouch on his waist. Luffy stepped onto the bow, released the color of knowledge, and expanded to the limit state. Remember the promise of twin capes? The person Laboon is waiting for is here. Laboon? Franky asked puzzled. You haven't seen yet, a whale following us. Sanji yells out to the sea. Laboon. Not long after, a huge black shadow appeared on the surface of the sea, and the next moment, Laboon surfaced and let out a long howl. Whoa. What's this? Franky was taken aback. Ha ha ha, don't worry, Laboon, you will find your companion soon. Luffy leapt onto Laboon's head. Knowledge color did not find the breath. The Devil's Triangle sea area is very large, it is quite troublesome to find a ghost ship. He sat down cross-legged. Take your time, I'll find someone. Go, follow. Ah. Laboon roared excitedly, carrying Luffy first into the darkness ahead. Sunny, on deck. Robin folded his arms on his chest, cupped his cheek, and smiled as Luffy and Laboon went deeper into the mist. Are you getting lost? It feels like ghosts will come out of this place. Don't say unlucky words, Robin. Nami shouted helplessly. Luffy, breakfast is ready. You guys eat first. After leaving a response, he completely disappeared before everyone's eyes. Luffy didn't go too far. He has a wide range of knowledge, and he can cover the entire kingdom of gods when he is in Sky Island. After riding Laboon for half an hour in the mist, I finally felt a breath. Laboon, 2 o'clock. Laboon immediately followed the instructions and sped away. At the same time, an old and dilapidated ship, drifting aimlessly in this sea of devils. In the dense fog, there was a ghostly humming sound. Brook, who was dead with only skeletons left, stood alone on the broken deck with a cup of ice-cold coffee, humming this pirate song day after day. Bring Bink's wine to your side, like the sea breeze, ride the wind and waves. On the shore of the sea, the sunset is also noisy. Birds singing, draw circles in the sky, goodbye harbor, Silk One. Let's sing a song, the song of sailing. It was supposed to be a song of pirates symbolizing freedom, and it should have a cheerful and clear melody. But at this moment, the chanting from the mouth of Brook, who was dead and only skeletal, left only a kind of eternal loneliness. How about changing the melody? Suddenly, the humming stopped abruptly. Brook shuddered to the bone with his ice-cold coffee. What sound? Someone. First fright, then joy. Brook quickly looked around, but the dense surrounding buildings only brought him a terrible unknown. It's behind you. A voice sounded from the bottom of my heart again. Scared. Brook's old bones froze, his head with a black explosive head turned mechanically. He saw a person appearing there like a ghost. Ah, ghost. You look like this, and I'm ashamed to say that others are ghosts. Luffy couldn't help Ichiraku. The skeleton in front of him is wearing a black gentleman's suit, has an explosive head, and wears a small black hat. The whole body is black, only the skeleton is white. Still in shock, Brook slowly came to his senses. It turned out to be a human being. I was so scared that my eyes almost fell out. Ah, although I don't have eyes. Oh 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 oh. Good morning, I'm Monkey D. Luffy. What a shame. I'm Brook, and as you can see, I'm a musician with only bones left. Brook took off his hat and greeted politely. However, morning. This place is shrouded in fog all the year round, and I haven't seen a living person for a long, long time. After a pause, he said again, Mr. Luffy, are you also the one who got lost here? I'm a pirate, I passed by here. Really, pirate? I used to be a pirate too. After all, you don't seem to be afraid of me at all? Brook said in surprise. A long time ago, I don't know how many days, or how many years ago, the person he saw last time was scared away without even saying a word to him. Ha ha ha, because I know you. Luffy laughed. Hey. Know me? I've been wandering in this sea alone for half a century, and you're the first person to say that. Yo ho 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 ho. I'm so moved that I want to cry. Although I don't have eyes that can cry out. Half a century. 50 years is a long time. He lost everything that ordinary people can lose. Companions, dreams, bodies, even shadows have all been lost. Now that someone says they know you, Brook feels sincerely happy. With tears streaming down his face, he said, I'm very happy today, so let's sing a song, Mr. Luffy, it's my honor to meet you. Sing something cheerful. It was an unusual communication. It was obviously the first time we met, and Brook also felt a touch of kindness. He put the coffee on the side of the boat, opened his skull, and took out a violin from it. When I was about to pull the strings, suddenly, Awa! A heavy howl came from the mist. Brook turned his head sharply. A huge black figure gradually emerged from the mist. Brook's eyes widened. No, he didn't have eyes, it was clearly a skull face, and his mouth vividly showed shocking emotions. Island whale. It's called Laboon. Luffy walked over and chuckled. I met it at Cape Twins, and it insisted on following me, asking me to take it to a pirate group called Rumba. Hearing this, Brook looked dull. I told it that the Rumba pirates disappeared long ago. There is probably only one person who is still alive, and it can't even be called alive. Laboon. Brook murmured blankly, and the violin fell from his hands and hit the floor with a thud. It is usually his most precious thing, but at this moment, he doesn't care about it. It was obviously a skeleton without tear ducts, but at this moment, Brook's empty eye sockets were filled with tears like rain. Is it really a Laboon? I'm Brook. Brook excitedly picked up the violin, cried and sang to Laboon. Yo ho 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 ho. Yo ho ho ho. This is your favorite song, Laboon. Can you still recognize it now? Out of me? Although I only have a skeleton left, I'm sorry, I haven't forgotten the agreement. No artifice, all emotional humming. Time seems to go back to 50 years ago. Laboon, who was still a small island whale, loved music and followed the Rumba pirates all the way to the Grand Line. Yo ho 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 yo ho 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 Binks whine. Laboon, who floated out of his head, raised his head and howled, his big eyes were also full of tears. It no longer recognizes Brook, but it won't forget the familiar tune. In this touching reunion, Luffy laughs. Come on board my boat, Brook. An hour later. The Ark of Proverbs. The remodeled golden ship now has a large canteen that can accommodate at least 100 people for dinner together. At this time, the whole Straw Hat crew gathered here, as well as Brook, who was newly aboard. The evil spirits are scattered. The evil spirits are scattered. Usopp held a cross and started talking nonsense to Brook. Damn it. How could there be a talking skeleton? It's still an afro. Dream. This must be a dream. Chopper, who was also terrified, breathed a sigh of relief. Really? Great, it's a dream. He fell straight, closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, a skull face appeared in front of his eyes. Good morning. Hello, I'm Brook, the dead Brook. Yo ho 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 ho. Wow. Chopper was so frightened that his eyes bulged out. He rolled on the spot, and hurriedly ran behind Luffy's feet, hiding his head, but his ass was exposed. Luffy. It's a monster. A ghost. A monster. Ha ha ha. Don't be afraid. This is our new member and the one Laboon has been waiting for, Brook. Luffy laughed out loud. These two jokes brought him joy every day. Only then did everyone calmly look at each other. It's unbelievable. It's a skeleton, but it can run and run. The Grand Line really has everything. Kaya said in amazement. Yo ho 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 ho. Brook took off his hat and saluted everyone elegantly and gentlemanly. I am a resurrected person who ate the fruit of the underworld. About 50 years ago, my pirate group had an incident with another group of pirates. All the Rumba pirates who were wiped out were dead. Brook is no exception. But what he ate in the past, which he always thought was useless, but turned him into a landlubber, was activated on that day. His soul returned from the underworld. Originally he could be revived as long as he found his own body, and gained a second life. It's a pity that I got lost. It took a year to find the body, it has become a skeleton, so it is what it is now. Talking about his experience, Brook is very cheerful. Everyone looked at Zoro in unison. Zoro blushed. What do you look at me for? I haven't reached this level either. Ah, admitted. He actually knows, I thought he didn't know. Hey, everyone, don't go too far. The green algae head is just stupid. No matter how you say it, you won't be able to find your own corpse. Hearing this, Zoro immediately drew his sword and slashed at Sanji. How dare you say it, lecherous Kappa. I will definitely hack you to death today. No, I'm going to kick you to death. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about finding your own body, because I've kicked it into pieces. Then, the two started fighting. A cross appeared on Nami's forehead, and he raised his hand and punched each of them, knocking them all down. Shut up. Two idiots, come here every day, I'm tired of watching it. Yo ho ho ho. What a boat chasing after joy. Brook put on his hat again, looked at Nuoqigao, and praised, beautiful lady, I'm sorry, can you let me admire your underwear? Bang. A thunderbolt fell out of thin air, paralyzing Brook with electricity, causing his head to stand on end. Nami clenched his fist and said angrily, one by one, really? If you dare to harass the girls on the sunny again, I will use 100 million volts to bring you back to hell. Yes, I'm sorry. I dare not. Brook apologized, twitching. Luffy laughed, it deserves it. I make you so cheap. The only girl on the sunny is the captain, I can flirt with it. After a short slapstick, Luffy ordered the serving of food. Everyone sits, men sit in a row, women sit in a row. Luffy takes the lead. It's probably been a long time since he had eaten such a rich food. Brook gobbled it up and wiped out a lot of it. After finishing the work, I still hold the toothpick and pick my teeth with my little finger. Everyone was very curious, where did so much food go? It was obviously a skeleton. Brook suddenly remembered something and sighed. Mr. Luffy, you invited me to join just now, about this matter. I'm really happy, but sorry, I can't promise you. Ah. The number one boy, Bartolomeo, slammed the table and stood up, forcing him in a gangster tone. What's going on? You skeleton monster. If Master Luffy invites you, you should kneel down quickly and thank Dade for nodding. Why are you so happy and look down on us? Luffy smiled slightly and said, sit down, Zauba, I'm glad you can speak for me, but change your tone in the future, I'm not a gangster. Yes, Master Luffy. Bartolomeo instantly became obedient. Everyone. Yo ho ho. Actually, it's a long story. Brook chuckled, I don't have a shadow, and once exposed to the sun, my body will disappear. I really want to join you, but I can't. It really is. Sanji, who was sitting next to Brook, was taken aback. When he lowered his head, he found that there was no shadow under Brook's feet. What's going on here? What is the side effect of Longchen fruit? Nuoqigao asked curiously. No, I don't have a shadow. It's completely irrelevant to me eating the fruit of the underworld and becoming a skeleton. The specific situation. After a pause, Brook picked up the hot coffee and took a sip gracefully. Please listen to the next chapter to break it down. Boom. Sanji punched him on the spot. Now. Yo ho ho ho. I'm really impatient, Mr. Sanji. Let me tell you then. Brook straightened his afro and said slowly. Of course Luffy knew exactly what happened, and he didn't bother the other party, allowing the other party to slowly talk about the past experience. Simply put, it was taken by Shichibukai Gecko Moria a few years ago. Moria is the ability user of Paramecia Shadow Fruit. Moria? Nami suddenly said. Is that Shichibukai? I saw him in the live broadcast of Summit War before. Yes, Shichibukai. Huh. Brook was taken aback. It's the original Shichibukai, Ms. Nami. Did you forget? On yesterday's news, his title, along with Luffy and Jinbei, were deprived of the title of Shichibukai together. Vivi reminded from the side. Yeah, I almost forgot. Nami nodded, and then asked. Then, Moria took your shadow away, Wouldn't it be good to get it back? Wait. Wait a minute. Wait. Brook said incredulously, Mr. Luffy, so you are Shicibukai. It's not anymore. Luffy smiled. Don't worry, it's just a shadow, just find him and grab it back. His lair is in this sea area, do you know the way? Incredibly Brook stared blankly at Luffy, never expecting that the person who invited him was Shicibukai, no, former Shicibukai. Such a big man, not only helped him reunite with Laboon, but also invited him to join? What can he do? Brook is unreal. Nami smirked and said, scared. My family Luffy's bounty is 3.5 billion now, Moria, I don't need him at all. 3.5 billion. Brook screamed, tilted his head, and fell on the chair. Scared out of my body. Ha ha ha, don't be so nervous, I don't eat people. Relax, after breakfast, we'll go find Moria. Huh? He said with a smile. Suddenly, Luffy raised his eyebrows slightly, and looked up at the ceiling. Zoro then found something unusual, and even people followed their gazes one after another. At some point, a cute and transparent ghost was floating above everyone's heads. -1/4, -1/4, -1/4, the little ghost made a ghostly sound and danced in the air. Everyone was taken aback. What's that? A ghost? Usopp opened his mouth in shock. Then, the dancing ghosts were divided into 3 and then into 5, rapidly expanding in size and number. Be careful. It's coming. Zoro concentrated on the handle of the knife and quickly reminded everyone. The next moment, the little ghosts on top of their heads attacked everyone one after another. It is an invisible substance, and it cannot be resisted at all. In a blink of an eye, little ghosts passed through the chests of everyone. Plop. 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 The people at the table fell to their knees one by one, depressed, as if they had no hope of living. Franky. Not at all, I'm such a waste this week, I don't have the confidence to live anymore, woo woo woo. Zoro. Born in this world, it really treats everyone. Sanji. My existence is less than that of a mackerel. Nuoqigao. I seem to have gained a kilogram recently, I really want to die. Kaya. I have been causing trouble for Mr. Luffy, and I have no right to be on this ship. Valentine, Two Fingers, Golden Week, Johnny, Joseph, Bartolomeo. AA. Each of them suffered a huge mental attack. Only 4 people in the audience were safe and sound. Luffy, Nami, Vivi, and Usopp stared dumbfounded at the kneeling crowd. What's going on? Luffy couldn't help laughing. The negative ghost, the attack of the ghost fruit ability user. The person who is hit will become very negative. While speaking, he raised his right hand, holding the negative ghost that was aimed at him. It's a woman named Perona, Shialia's subordinate. Why am I okay? And, Luffy, why are you able to grab this thing? Usopp asked in bewilderment. Haki is strong enough. Isn't it, Princess Mononoke? Luffy smiled lightly at the negative ghost in his hands. Assault on my subordinates, are you mentally prepared? Give you 10 minutes, you can crawl over and kneel down to apologize, or I will come. After finishing speaking, with a bang, the negative ghost was crushed. At the same time, in a dark castle, a lovely princess room. On the luxurious and comfortable soft bed, Princess Mononoke woke up with a start, her eyes wide open. Ah! Monster! Can you catch my negative ghost with bare hands? How is this possible? I can't accept it. She jumped off the bed all of a sudden, striding back and forth nervously. What to do? What to do? Is this man coming to catch me? Apologize? HMPH, no apologies. By the way, he sure can't find the castle. Nothing to be nervous about. Perona stood still, picked up the small umbrella beside her, and quickly walked out of the room. In the huge castle, he walked around in circles, and finally came to a restaurant. Hey! 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 Perona, what's the matter? The man sitting at the dining table is named Hobak, a genius surgeon. Beside him, there is another man with 2 faces on his face. A woman with a suture was standing there with a blank expression on her plate. Like a corpse, there is no warmth in the eyes. What are you eating leisurely? There are enemies coming. Perona asked angrily. Master Moria and Absalom haven't come back yet. Didn't come back. It's been 2 days since the end of the war, so maybe he's still on his way. Hobak stuck out his tongue. licking the soup that was poured on the table, making a sneering sound from his mouth. It would be good if all the plates disappeared, the maid Shin dually said coldly. Scare. Hobak straightened up immediately, picked up a white tissue and wiped his mouth. What enemy? Shichibukai. No, the original Shichibukai Straw Hat Luffy, now a big pirate with a bounty of 3.5 billion. Perona stomped her little feet, covered her fists, and murmured in a panic. It's just a little joke with them. Why are you so angry? A stingy man. Hobak. Straw Hat Luffy. With a terrified sound, he stood up from the chair. What did you do? No, it's nothing. Perona shook her head repeatedly, shaking her two ponytails. Really, at this time, why isn't Lord Moria here? And Huan Mo was deprived of the title of Shichibukai out of nowhere. Straw Hat Luffy was stripped of her title, which she can understand. After all, she betrayed her during the war. Why is Moria? It's decided, Hobak. I want to leave this ship. If the Straw Hat Luffy comes and can't find me, he will definitely leave. She made a decisive decision. Run away. Nothing to be ashamed of. That is a monster that can crush negative ghosts with bare hands. Shin dually, stop her. Hobak immediately issued an order. Whoosh. A plate flew by and slammed against the door of the restaurant, preventing Perona from leaving. What are you going to do, Goobak? Perona turned her head angrily. Boom. 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 Huobake laughed twice, and said with a dark face, if you ran away, wouldn't he find me to vent his anger? Although I don't know what you did to anger the other party, but you are still old. Just stay here. You. Perona's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. What kind of person? Before the enemy came to the door, he was fighting among himself. Don't blame me, it's all your own fault. That's a 3.5 billion man. Even if you get your butt up and get beaten, you have to do it obediently. Don't get me involved. Hobak said with a serious face. Sindo Lee, grab her. At the same time, above the castle, Luffy stands in the air, and observation hockey locks the entire castle. He immediately found two relatively powerful auras. I am coming. A wave of thought was sent out, resounding in the hearts of Perona and Hobak. In an instant, the expressions of both of them changed. Plop. Perona's legs gave way, and she fell to the ground in a duck-sitting posture. Ah! She screamed and was frightened through yang on the spot. Luffy stood in the sky, looking down at the castle below. Moria's thriller bark is known as the world's largest pirate ship. The whole ship is in the shape of a disc, the outermost layer is a wooden wall, the front entrance is a huge and terrifying mouth, and inside is a forest of various zombies lurking. The core area, the regiment, is a castle with a large area. At this time, he descended slowly, as if stepping on a staircase in the void, and stepped into a deep corridor from the front of the castle. Looking at the wall in front of him, Luffy flicked his fingers. Boom. The power of shock fruit shattered the obstacles in an instant. Didn't you feel Moria's breath? All the way straight to the dining room, after destroying an unknown number of walls, I finally came to the room where the target was. In the dining room. Seeing him break through the wall, Huobake broke out in a cold sweat. Straw Hat Luffy. She is the one who provoked you, and has nothing to do with me. The first time to put aside the relationship, and even want to ask for credit. She wanted to run, but I stopped her. Glancing at him, Luffy ignored him and walked towards Perona, who was sitting on the ground step by step. With pink double ponytails and a small crown on her head, she sat on the ground and wept. Luffy moved a chair casually, sat in front of Perona, crossed her legs. It's too fake to cry. I was very decisive when I attacked my companion just now. Now you know that you are afraid. The fake cry of ying 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 became louder. While pretending to cry and look pitiful, he secretly glanced at Luffy. I was just kidding. Woo woo woo. Woo your head, shut up. The crying stopped abruptly. Perona put on a pitiful expression of a doormat, and looked at Luffy with a little fear. What do you want? I apologize to you. I gave you 10 minutes before to crawl over and apologize, but it's too late now. Ah. It's not cute at all. Perona couldn't take it anymore, she couldn't pretend anymore, she stood up from the ground all of a sudden. Why did you find this place so quickly? It's too foul. I didn't even have time to run. Luffy stared slightly. Perona suddenly went into cardiac arrest with fright. Yes, I'm sorry, I was a little louder just now, she apologized in a low voice. It will take less than 3 minutes to come from the air. The old god Luffy said. It's too late to apologize, now I'll give you a chance to walk around the room of 10 times while learning how to bark like a puppy. Who would do such a disgraceful thing, you idiot? It seems that I have to discipline you for Moria. Luffy showed a kind smile, turned to Gubak and said, Morgan whip over here. Certainly. Qiwuhai dared not follow, he quickly got up and left, for fear of being involved. Wait. I know, I can bark like a dog, woof. Perona yelled twice with a face full of grief. Luffy stared at her blankly. The flustered Perona, who was watched, wanted to cry without tears, and crawled around the restaurant while whispering like a puppy barking in her mouth. Luffy nodded in satisfaction, and took out a video shell from Sky Island. The shape of the video shell is a camera, which can record and play video. It was bought by Nami at Sky Island. In addition to the video shell, there are a lot of other shellfish. The posture is not right, the buttocks should be raised, and the bark should be louder. Pervert. Devil. What are you filming? Of course this kind of thing should be well preserved and appreciated 10 times a day. Luffy's tone was tinged with sarcasm. The woman attacked his crew with a passive ghost. Although it didn't cause any real damage, the mental damage was still there. He is retaliating with an eye for an eye. If it could really cause physical harm, with his ability to predict the future, he would never give her a chance. My companion will land here later, and let everyone appreciate your performance. Only this, please don't. Perona burst into tears. It's too embarrassing. Please. I was wrong. Are you wrong? Where are you wrong? Tell me? What kind of question is this? Perona was so angry that his head was about to smoke. It seems that you haven't realized your mistake yet. Don't worry. After you learn how to bark, there will be follow-up waiting for you. Come on. Luffy encouraged. What kind of devil-like man is this? It's too hateful. Perona glared at him viciously. If she couldn't beat him, she wouldn't want to be bullied like this. Don't stop. I'm still shooting. Why don't I use a whip? Wow. After climbing a full 10 laps, Perona was finally relieved. Anyway, it was already like this. Jhin broke the jar and said. Any other moves? Just come on. Humph. I won't give in. Seeing how she suddenly got angry, Luffy's expression became subtle. Shouldn't it have awakened some strange attribute? Wait a minute. Where is Moria? Do not continue? It's just learning how a dog barks and crawls around a few times. Do you think it will scare me? You haven't been fooled by my acting skills. You are a genius, Perona. She hid her proud little emotions, still lying there like a puppy. Lord Moria hasn't come back. Didn't come back? Luffy frowned slightly. It's not far from naval headquarters. What's Moria doing? Thinking of this, his knowledgeable color suddenly sensed a few breaths at the entrance. Immediately got up, concentrated the knowledge, and listened carefully. Thriller bark, entrance. After the monster's mouth opened, a submarine slowly drove in. Abu Sarab helped Moria and walked down from the deck. Thank you very much, Trafalgar Law. I will remember this kindness. Moria turned to thank Trafalgar Law behind her. 2 days ago. After the Summit War, he was ambushed by Doflamingo and engaged in battle with the enemy. In the end, Absalom saved him by relying on the power of transparent fruit. But his injuries were very serious. Fortunately, he met this supernova with superb medical skills, which saved his life. I just happened to meet, so there is no need to thank you. Luo took the crew to disembark together. Originally planned to meet Straw Hat Luffy, but when he arrived, the war was over. However, I'm curious, why did the government kill you? About this, I don't understand either, but it's very possible. It has something to do with that thing. Moria's face was very ugly. If this is the case, I'm afraid it will be targeted in the future. This ship can't stay here, and I have to find a way to get out of the government's sight. Luo still wants to ask. Suddenly, a voice sounded from the bottom of their hearts. Trafalgar Law. Gecko Moria. What a rare combination. Who? Luo said in shock. This voice. Straw Hat Luffy. Moria was shocked. I'm in your castle, come see me. Inside the castle restaurant. Luffy glanced at Perona, who was still lying on her stomach, and couldn't help saying, Your Moria's father is back. Perona. who was adopted and brought up by Moria since she was a child, said that Moria is her adoptive father, and there is no big problem. Master Moria? Perona stood up suddenly and wanted to go out immediately. Come back. Kneel obediently. Who allowed you to go? Luffy switched legs on it, and said in a low tone, you seem to be enjoying it just now. It seems that I have to change the punishment method to let you experience what mental trauma is. Who's having fun with it? It's not cute at all. It's hard. Lou's head is hard. Perona was so angry that she wanted to hit someone. It's not important. Just now you attacked all together and successfully put my subordinates into a passive state. I'm not a devil. I'll let you experience kinds of punishment. You've already passed level 1. Come on. Perona. When Moria returned to the castle and entered the restaurant, he saw one of his subordinates, Princess Mononoke, one of the 3 weirdos, taking off his black and white stockings and smelling them reluctantly. Luffy in a straw hat, who was sitting on the side, was holding a camera with a smirk, faithfully recording everything. What is this pervert game? Yo, are you back? Luffy put down the video, turned to greet Moria. Behind Moria, followed by a group of pirates, the Heart Pirates. When seeing Luo, Luffy suddenly thought of a good idea. Trafalgar Law is a Paramecia Op fruit ability user, a very powerful fruit. In the original story, he once used his ability to capture the hearts of 100 pirates and successfully obtained the title of Shicibukai. The person whose heart was taken by him will not die. This is a powerful means of controlling people. And on his ship, there are currently 4 CP9 members. If you are sleepy, someone will send you a pillow. Just as she was thinking, Moria said in a deep voice. Straw Hat Luffy, why are you here? You have to ask her. Luffy smiled, observing Moria's injury. Are you injured? Doflamingo did it? Moria's complexion changed. How do you know? Guess. Moria, who stroked almost all the way, could not have suffered such a serious injury in the Summit War. In the original story, Doflamingo wanted to kill Moria after the war. That's a good guess. That's not the problem. In the original story, Moria was targeted because she lost to Luffy. But now, he didn't do anything. Moria is a good Shichibukai, staying obediently in the Devil's Triangle waters, at most setting up his own zombie army. How could he be targeted by the government? You know, the same Shichibukai, even Crocodile, who tried to steal the country, was only imprisoned in the deep sea prison after being arrested. What did you do? Did you take the shadow of one of the celestial dragons? Don't talk stupid. How can I shoot celestial dragons? With an unhappy expression on her face, Moria sat down opposite Luffy, folded her hands on her chest, and said through gritted teeth. I'm afraid it's because of that. Luffy turned to look at Perona, and ordered. What are you still doing in a daze? Haven't you served delicious food and wine? Haven't you seen the guests coming? Perona. This place is Lord Moria's castle. Why can you order me in the tone of a master? Ah, what a shame. She threw down the stockings in her hand and went to prepare food with her bare feet. At this moment, Luo sat down at the dining table. That what exactly is it? Regarding the savior, Moria's tone was a little better. I don't know, I just feel that way. About half a month ago, in the thick fog of the Thriller bark, 3 extremely huge monsters appeared. The colossus hidden in the thick fog is many times bigger than the Thriller bark under its feet. Among them, the one in the middle even has a pair of red eyes. I was also curious about what it was, so I sent some flying zombies over there to have a look, but none of them came back. Hearing this, Luffy suddenly remembered. In the original story, when the Straw Hat crew defeated Moria and left the sea area of the Devil's Triangle, it seemed that such a thing did appear. Slender, because very huge. Compared to that size, the Thriller bark is like a child's toy. That's all. No, those 3 monsters existed for about 3 hours, and then I went there myself, and it turned out. Having said that, Moria couldn't help frowning. There's nothing, it's just the shadow of something. He is a shadow fruit capable person, and he can still tell whether the target object is a shadow or not. Luffy said in surprise. Similar to the projection of Sky Island people? That's right. Of course Moria knew about the Sky Island. At that time, there was something in the sky, a very huge thing, which was projected in the thick fog of this sea area under the sunlight, so I saw it. It looks so big. Moreover, there was still a rumbling sound at that time. After a pause, he gritted his teeth and hammered the table. I suspect that it is some kind of weapon developed by the government, similar to pacifists. No, it is a humanoid weapon that is more powerful than pacifists. Those projections must be the shadows of 3 people. Apart from this point, he really didn't know why he was targeted by the government. Something must have happened recently for the 5 elders to kill him. And recently, this is the only one. If it was something in the past, the world government would not have waited until now. After all, his lair was in this sea area, and 5 elders knew it all along. S**T. Luffy fell into deep thought, and suddenly smiled. I probably know what it is. What is that? Moria and Luochichi were startled and asked in unison. A weapon that could destroy a country, an island, in one blow. But it probably doesn't have enough energy to start right now. Luffy shook his head, frowning slightly. The flame of Our Lady, the ability to destroy the kingdom of Lulusha, relies on Vegapunk. It was the scientist Vegapunk who found a sufficient energy to activate that weapon. After all, Vegapunk's dream is endless energy, and there is a very in-depth research on this aspect. 2 years after the original book, I am also used Holy Virgin Flame for the first time. The Madonna itself was not made by Vegapunk, or rather, it was not made from scratch. That thing is most likely Uranus, one of the ancient weapons, which was perfected and repaired by Vegapunk. At the same time, it has a high probability and is also a national treasure in Doflamingo's mouth. It would make sense that the 5 elders would send an insider to kill Moria, who they had stumbled upon. And if you want to hide such a huge weapon, the Devil's Triangle Sea area is obviously a good hiding place. There is a thick fog that lingers all year round, and no one can find it. Because it's close before destroying the kingdom of Lulusha, the reason I gave was because of the proximity. And this country is near the Devil's Triangle Sea area. Of course, this is just Luffy's guesswork. Maybe it's really a projection of a person. Were there 3 people standing on that weapon? Who could it be? Luffy couldn't help laughing. You're out of luck, Moria. The government won't let you go. You're dead. You are dead. Moria looked uncertain. Not because of what Luffy said, but because he felt the same way. If that weapon is real, even if it is not ancient weapon, it is still comparable to ancient weapon. This ship can't stay anymore. No, not only this ship, it has to leave the Sea of A Paradise and enter the New World. The power of the world government will appear relatively weak only in the sea area ruled by the 4 emperors. But, is Yuan going to abandon the ship? And zombies on board? You want to go to New World? Looking at Moria's expression, Luffy can roughly guess what this guy is thinking. If you leave the sphere of influence of the world government, you can't escape even if you go to New World. The tentacles of the world government are all over the world, and the power that can be projected in New World is weaker than other places, but it is not impossible. Luo nodded in agreement. The Straw Hats are right. If the world government insists on killing you, it will count as going to New World, unless you hide your name incognito. Otherwise, you will still be targeted. Hearing this, Moria's expression became even worse. He stared at Luffy for a while, and suddenly gave 2 strange laughs. Then, Straw Hat Luffy, what is your reason? During the Summit War, Sengoku and the others gave up Fire Fist Ace, the executioner, and wanted to keep you as a gangster. Everyone is being targeted by the government, not to mention the elder brother. At this moment, Moria somewhat gloated. When you fall into the abyss, you will inevitably feel better when you see someone falling down together. Want to know? It's okay to tell you. After briefly talking about Nika fruit, both Moria and Luo showed shocked expressions. The government thinks I'm the 2nd-generation sun god, Joy Boy, who will overthrow the celestial dragons, and wants to kill me on the spot. Luffy was very calm, and grinned. It's different from you, my strength is much stronger than yours. To this, Moria was speechless. With the power he showed in Summit War, this guy can rival the 4 emperors. Now that Whitebeard is dead and one of the 4 emperors has gone, there will be a period of chaos in New World, and the pirates will be like sharks smelling fishy, frantically encroaching on the territory left by Whitebeard. If a new pirate emperor is born later, the possibility of Straw Hat Luffy ascending to the throne is very high. Straw Hat Luffy. Thinking of this, Moria suddenly had a good idea. You will soon enter the New World. Unlike the Paradise Sea, there are only 2 ways to enter the last sea, or join one of the 4 emperors under my command, or challenge the 4 emperors. Once, he chose the latter and had a fierce battle with Kaido's Beasts pirates. After the First World War, all his men died. The world-famous supernova pirate group, Moria Pirates, has also become the current Thriller Bark Pirates. He became obsessed with zombies that would not die, thinking that as long as they were dead at the beginning, they would not lose their companions in battle. Excessive nonsense, you don't know it. If you want to reach the final island, you must find 4 pieces of signpost history text. Whether it is Kaido or Big Mom, they have this thing in their hands. Luffy put his head in his hands, leaned against the back of the chair, put his feet on the table. It's all enemies. Hearing this, Moria and Luo were shocked. This guy is going to kill the 4 emperors before entering the New World? Moria narrowed her eyes, feeling a twitch. He is already preparing to abandon the ship and enter the New World, avoiding the eyes of the world government. But if you want to accumulate strength in New World steadily, the best choice is to join a faction. Straw Hat Luffy might be a good place to go. For the world government, Straw Hat Luffy is much more important than him. Hiding in this guy's shadow, at least it won't be the government's first target. Similarly, Luo couldn't help thinking. He wants to kill Doflamingo of New World and avenge his former benefactor. The background of Doflamingo is 4 Emperors Kaido. After a moment of silence, the two spoke almost simultaneously. Straw Hat Luffy, let me join your pirate team. Since the Straw Hats are going to New World, how about joining forces? After finishing speaking, the two looked at each other, and the atmosphere was a little weird for a while. Luffy blinked, laughed and said, "Want to join me?" With his current strength, it is not surprising that someone came to seek refuge. But the target is these 2 people, he just laughed. Can. Agree decisively. After a pause, Luffy said again, "But my asylum also has conditions, Moria. Remember to abide by it, otherwise I don't mind cleaning the door." He. Every pirate group has its own rules, I understand, Captain Straw Hat. Because it was a family-led merger, Luffy arranged for Moria to be the captain of the 3rd team. Turning his head to look at Luo again, he smiled slightly and said, "Luo, you are the 4th team. Wait, Master of the Straw Hats, I'm talking about teaming up, but I don't want to join your big boat group. What strength do you have? Are you worthy of joining forces with me?" Luffy rolled his eyes. Luo, who won a reward of 3 billion 2 years later, barely qualified. The current Trafalgar Law is just a rookie with a bounty of 200 million. Luo Yu was at a loss, and only after a while did he say, "Are you really going to deal with Kaido? Sooner or later, he not only has the historical text of the Red Road sign, but also something equally important. Ancient weapon Pluton. This thing must find a way to get. It is not necessary to use it. Rather, the world government has the country-destroying weapon, the flames of Our Lady, and he must also grasp the equivalent power as soon as possible to form deterrence and balance. Just like nuclear weapons, you don't have to use them, but you can't have them. In this case, I understand, let's join." Luo took the test seriously for a moment, then nodded in agreement. He wanted to kill Doflamingo, but once he did, Doflamingo would be a hurdle that he couldn't get around. Since the interests are the same, there is no harm in joining the Straw Hat fleet. At this time, Perona returned with a zombie bear, named Kumasi, with a simple posture and a lot of food and wine. As soon as she returned to the restaurant, she heard such bad news that she was struck by lightning. Moria-sama is joining the Straw Hat Pirates. The Thriller Bark pirate group is going to be merged into the Straw Hat Big Ship group? Will I still be bullied by this man in the future? Perona's heart was cold, and tears rolled in her eyes. Yo, I'm back. It's just in time to celebrate the addition of new members. Let's start the banquet. Luffy laughed. The joys and sorrows of people are not the same. Perona just wants to cry now. Soon after, the 3 ships of the Straw Hat Pirates finally arrive at the Thriller Bark. Passing through the huge mouth, all 3 ships docked on the shore. On the deck of the Sunny, looking at the eerie environment, Vivi whispered, "This place is creepy, Mr. Luffy, are you all right? There will be ghosts coming out. Maybe Luffy was eaten by ghosts," Robin said in a calm tone. Everyone remembered the little ghost that appeared on the boat before. It looks like a cute little thing, but it has such a vicious attack method. When a woman achieves a united front, she must retaliate. Nami. At this time, Zoro's shout came from the Mary. Something is flying over. Everyone cast their eyes immediately. It was a bat, with a human head and a bat body, flapping its wings, and quickly flew to the front of the crowd, and landed on the sheephead of the melee. Dear guests of the Straw Hats, I am Hilton, who is in charge of the message, and Captain Luffy is currently holding a banquet with Lord Moria. Please follow me. Brook had a blank look on his face. With the cross still hanging on his chest, Usopp swallowed and asked, "Are you a zombie?" "Yes." "Luffy is throwing a party with Moria?" "Yes." Hilton rang something again, and said, "Captain Luffy asked me to send a message to Lord Bartolomeo, asking him to bring those 4 people with him. 4 prisoners aboard the Armado, government agent CP9. Apparently only the Straw Hats know about this. So, without doubt, everyone followed Hilton to the castle. When they came to the restaurant, they immediately saw Luffy and Moria. Everyone has puzzled expressions on their faces. Aren't you here to beat Moria up and get Brook's shadow back? How did the party start? Ha ha ha, sit down. This is the welcome party. Moria has joined us. Luffy laughed and explained briefly. Then he said to Moria, "By the way, you took his shadow away, right?" Moria looked at Brook, somewhat impressed. He. I remember you, the skull with an explosive head. Your shadow was stuffed into a powerful swordsman by me. Hearing this, Brook said excitedly, "Please return it to me, Moria." "It will be returned to you. I am going to release all the zombies here, and the shadows will be returned to you." The thriller bark is obviously not suitable for such a large ship to get New World. He's going to start over, the place is useless. At this time, Zoro caught the key word, a powerful sword king? The legendary dragon-slaying warrior, the sword god Ryoma from New World Wano Kuni. For this zombie, Moria is quite satisfied. The only dissatisfaction is, unfortunately, your shadow is too weak, you can't show his strength at all. Brook. Then give it back to me. Wait. Zoro grinned and said with great interest, "Sword god Ryoma. I can't pretend I didn't hear that. Where is this guy?" "In the annex to the west. I'll go meet that sword god for a while. Brook, I'll help you get the shadow back." Zoro immediately ran out of the restaurant. Brook was speechless. "I'd because you are itchy and want to learn from others. Others are already ready to return the shadow to him. You'd better keep up." Nami shook his head helplessly. "No matter what he says, maybe tomorrow, he'll still be wandering around here." Hearing this, Brook immediately chased him out. "Wait. Mr. Zoro, I'll show you the way. Don't run away." "Huh? Find someone whose corpse can get lost for a year, and lead me the way? I've said it all, it's a problem with the fog, I'm not a road idiot." The conversation faded away. Luffy smiled, got up and said, "You guys sit first, minibus, you bring people on, Luo, you come with me." With a few people, Luffy came to a room opposite the restaurant. Son. It is a living room with tiger skin carpets on the floor, various portraits on the walls, and candle chandeliers above the head. "What's the matter, Mr. Straw Hat? Your ability is op fruit, and this fruit is worth 5 billion Baileys." Luffy chuckled, and pointed to the 4 of CP9. "Take out their hearts. Can this kind of thing be done?" Hearing this, the expressions of Lu Chi and the others changed slightly. When Luo heard the figure of 5 billion, he was shocked. "You know. 5 billion op fruit incident, of course. My grandpa was Marine Vice Admiral Garp." Luffy casually moved out of background number 1. "Even your origin, I know, I've been paying attention to you for a long time. A young man born in Beicheng Town, was suffering from amber lead disease and died soon. Luo, who gave up on himself, strapped bombs all over his body and asked to join Doflamingo's Don Quixote family. Fortunately, he met Don Quixote's younger brother, a man named Don Quixote Rocinante. This person is actually an undercover agent for Marine. The kind-hearted younger brother took Luo to seek medical treatment, and finally heard that the government bids 50 and you want to buy op fruit from a group of pirates. At the cost of his life, he successfully helped Luo get the fruit. Luo eventually survived." Listening to Luffy talking about his past, Luo's expression became heavy. "You're thinking, why do I know about this?" Luffy smiled and said, "It's recorded in Marine's confidential files that Rocinante's codename at the time was Microfruit, and his superior. The contact person is Sengoku, codenamed Dashanbei. What is my relationship with Sengoku? Don't I need to say more? What is your relationship with Sengoku?" You were in Summit War, didn't you punch Sengoku hard? Luo Jin was stunned. Leave that aside, let's take their hearts out. Luffy waved his hand. Do you understand what is background, King? Akimbo.jpg. Even if it is nonsense, as long as the background is there, others will dare to believe it. I see. Luo walked up to the four of Lu Chi and grinned. Don't worry, you won't feel anything. All four of them were bound by Bartolomeo's barrier fruit, and they couldn't break free from the barrier shackles. He could only watch the opponent's actions helplessly. Luo shot like lightning. Scalpel. With a bang, a square hole appeared in Lu Chi's chest. And his heart fell from behind. What is this? Lu Chi was shocked. Luffy reached out, grabbed the heart in his hand, and squeezed it lightly. Suddenly, Lu Chi uttered a scream and fell to the ground. Kaku, Khalifa, and Blueno's complexion changed drastically, and their eyes were fixed on the heart in Luffy's hand. The heart is located in a cube, and when it is held in the hand, it is still beating. What do you want? Straw Hat Luffy, Kaku said with a heavy face. You may not believe me when I say it, but I am actually a member of the government, and I am now testing your loyalty to the government. Luffy laughed and talked nonsense, lightly tossed the heart in his hand, and at the same time took out a piece of paper and a phone bug from his pocket. Contact your superiors and report according to the content on this paper. If there is any mistake in a word, I will crush his heart. After a pause, the corners of his mouth raised. As for crushing, what will happen to him? I don't need to say more. Naked threats. Lu Chi lay on the ground, his face pale. No matter how much you exercise, no matter how strong your body is, the heart should still be fragile. He was in so much pain that he couldn't speak. Kaku, Blueno, and Khalifa looked at each other. Lie about intelligence? Deceive superiors? Once done, there is no going back. No, there was no going back. It is only natural that agents whose missions failed and whose identities were exposed should be cleaned up. Bar. Taking a deep breath, Khalifa took the initiative to step forward. If you do this, will you let us go? No, at least not dead. Understood. Khalifa knelt down. Bartolomeo next to him was very clever and helped her open the note on the low table. The above content is very simple, not complicated. Let's get started. She gritted her teeth. Our superior is a government official named Spandam, and the contact number is Eni's Lobby, Eni's Lobby. This is an island that never sleeps, day and night all year round. There is a court directly under the world government on the island, but none of the prisoners sent here to wait for trial has ever left alive. The island is divided into 3 parts. Directly in front is the small island where the main gate is located. After passing through a long passage, you will come to the judgment court on the central island. At the back of the court, there is a long bridge that is usually put away, connecting the Tower of Judiciary. At this time, the Tower of Justice, the highest office of the chief executive. Spandam sat behind the desk, shaking his legs anxiously, put his fingers on the table, and kept tapping the table to make a rattling sound. Did it take so long? Haven't you reported yet? Lu Chi and those people, what are they doing? On the sofa, there were 3 people sitting, all members of CPP. Kumadori, Otanashi Fukuru, and Jabra. Hearing the officer's complaint at this time, Jabra grinned. Maybe it got killed by the Straw Hat crew. That's unlucky, chirping. Fukuru opened his zipper mouth. With Lu Chi's skill, he can pass on the information before he is killed. Kumadori has a large body, long white hair hanging down, a thick white foundation painted on his face, and a metal-long staff in his hand. Yo-yo. If the task fails, I can only sing a harakiri song. As he said that, he took out a wakizashi, a short sword used for seppuku. However, before he could do anything, the phone bug on the desk suddenly rang. Coming? Spandam ignored the farce in front of him and picked up the receiver quickly. This is Khalifa. Khalifa, how's the mission going? The mission failed. Straw Hat crew got the news of the blueprint from somewhere. When we found out that the blueprint was in the hands of Katie Flam, now a man named Franky, 283, this people have been controlled by Straw Hat crew. What? Failed? Spandam's face darkened. Stop joking. How am I going to explain to my superiors? There was darkness in front of his eyes, and his official career was cut off. As the official N generation who inherited his father's career, his father was the former chief of CP9, and now he has been promoted, and he inherited this position, and finally waited for a major task. He was about to rely on the Pluton design drawings and get promoted. Now, the dream is shattered. No, maybe the official position will be removed. Currently, the Straw Hat crew has left the capital of Seven Waters, and they have kidnapped Franky. Damn Straw Hats. Spandam snarled. Don't worry, we are now tailing their ship and found an important intelligence. Khalifa's voice was very steady, and he reported in a leisurely manner. In their original route, the next destination is the Fishmen Island, and if you want to enter the Fishmen Island, you must give it to the Sabodi archipelago. Get to the point. Spandam scolded in an anxious tone. The point is, the Straw Hat crew changed their course. They have a ship that can fly in the sky, named Arc Proverb. This ship uses lightning as a power source, and a woman named Nami is a Logia Thunder Fruit-capable person. After a brief pause, Khalifa continued. Now, they've turned around and are heading to the city of the Queen of Spring, then enter the Calm Belt, cross the Red Line from the air, and enter the New World. Cunning pirate. Spandam was struck by lightning. Running to the Calm Belt? How dare you think? Is it because of the Summit War? Spandam is not an idiot either. After a little thought, he reacted. Khalifa, you find a way to hold them back. I will call for reinforcements immediately. After speaking, without waiting for Khalifa to answer, he immediately hung up the communication. He opens the drawer. In the drawer, there is a golden phone bug and a black phone bug. Once the golden phone bug is pressed, it will activate the national order. He carefully put it into his arms, then took out another black phone bug and dialed a number. Report the information you know to the world government and ask for support at the same time. After finishing, he got up immediately and ordered the 3 subordinates on the sofa. The vacation is over. Hurry to the city of the Queen of Spring. Franky must not be allowed to escape. This is related to my promotion. 3 people. Although he knew that the officer had such a pissing nature, he couldn't help but feel a little speechless at the moment. Wait. That's the Straw Hat Luffy who messed around in the Summit War, the original 7 warlords of the sea, so we are all right. Jabra said solemnly. It's okay, I will use Buster Call when necessary. Aokiji will come too. Spandam picked up a sword and raised his chin to several people, apostles. The other side. The intelligence personnel of world government did not dare to neglect after receiving Spandam's report, and immediately reported the matter to 5 elders. When the 5 elders learned about it, they were furious. Straw Hat. Straw Hats again. This bastard has trouble with them all day long. They even tried to get their hands on the ancient weapon. Although it was just a blueprint, it was absolutely not allowed. Sa Tanshang immediately contacted the Knights of God. Sabodi Archipelago. In Area 60, there are marine garrisons and government entrances and exits. At this moment, inside a villa, Figalando Gringo is leisurely drinking black tea, Earl Grim. 5 elders asked him to solve 2 things. First, arrest the boss of Shijing, Morgans, and investigate the news about IMM. Second, capture Straw Hat Luffy alive and kill him on the spot if necessary. And his Knights of the Gods, including himself, only had 9 members. Of course, it is impossible to dispatch all of them. After all, the Holy Land still needs to be guarded. So 3 people were left in the Holy Land. Send 3 people to complete the first thing, and he himself, with 2 people, quietly waits for the arrival of the Straw Hat crew in Sabodi Archipelago. There is no doubt that if you want to enter the New World, this is the place you must pass through, and Straw Hat Luffy will definitely come. Instead of chasing each other all over the world, it is better to wait here quietly for the prey to come. However, his leisure was quickly ruined by a phone call. 5 elders contact. After a while, Greenwood put down the phone bug, with a little displeasure on his face. This kid is not an idiot. Did he guess that someone would attack him in Sabodi Archipelago? It's not unbelievable to be able to guess. To his displeasure, the Straw Hat crew even had an empty ship. It reminded him of another legendary pirate. Captain of the Flying Pirates, one of the 3 legends together with Roger and Whitebeard, Paramecia Lion Fruit ability user, Golden Lion Shiki. This guy has this fleet that can fly in the sky, and because of this, it is almost impossible to catch this beast. If this idiot hadn't taken the initiative to go to Marineford to make a fuss when Roger was executed, he wouldn't have been imprisoned in the deep-sea prison. Although he escaped later, he became the first prisoner in the history of Impelled Down to escape. Today, Roger and Whitebeard have died successively, and the big pirate has not been seen for many years. City of the Queen of Spring. Concentrating his thoughts, Green Gu put down the black tea, got up and said to the two subordinates, "Let's go. If you miss this time, you don't know where you will hide next time." One of them muttered, "The information may not be accurate, I'll keep it." "It's not necessary, there are Marines on the island." Devil's Triangle, Thriller Bark. Living room. Khalifa raised his head and looked at Luffy on the sofa. "I've done what you asked. Can you return the heart to us?" "Well done. As expected of being a secretary, the free play in the middle period is very good." Luffy praised. "It seems that your loyalty to the world government is nothing more than that, but you value the lives of your companions more. Loyalty is loyalty, just a little bit of loyalty. For people like Rob Lucci, the purpose of entering CP9 is not to contribute to the government, but simply to want the killing privilege. When I was 13 years old, 500 soldiers from a country were captured by pirates and demanded a ransom from the king. The government sent him to solve it, and the guy ended up killing the hostages along with the pirates. Luo, take off the hearts of all 4 of them." After receiving the order, Luo acted quickly, and in the blink of an eye, there was another heart in front of Luffy. After finishing, he said doubtfully, "What's the purpose of doing this? Next, go to the Saboti archipelago for coding. Are you worried about an ambush? In my crew there was an island whale called Laboon, and he had a large internal space, big enough for our boat, to dive directly to the bottom of the ocean. Saboti archipelago is not a must." Hearing this, Luo was even more puzzled. "Then why?" "I'm going to meet someone." Luffy put his heart away and said to Bartolomeo, "Bring them back to the ship." "Yes, Lord Luffy." Bartolomeo immediately took the 4 away. Luo looked back and asked, "Who?" "A man who knows all the history." Luffy got up and went back to the dining room. "Go see Rayleigh. It's not that he went to be a teacher, and Rayleigh can't teach him anything. As the deputy of the former One Piece who has reached the final island, Pluton Rayleigh knows all the truth. He just wanted to know exactly where Rahudel was. If he could take a shortcut, he would still be happy to try it." When returning to the dining table, Luffy received a prompt from the system. "Crew Roronoa Zoro awakens armament hockey, reward 3,000 adventure coins." Luffy was a little surprised when he suddenly received a system prompt. Green Algae had a fight with Ryoma and woke up right away? "I exercised for a month before, but I couldn't do it." "Does the world grow faster by fighting?" "Unreasonable. You know, in the original story, Kebi relied on 200 times the efforts of ordinary people. In just 2 years, he grew from a small miscellaneous fish on the Alvida boat to an incredible level. Stress should make people grow. Well, nothing wrong." Putting it aside, Luffy smiled and said to everyone, "Enjoy the banquet to the fullest, in the afternoon." Although morning and afternoon are not visible on the Thriller bark, the time does arrive in the afternoon. Straw Hat crew took a rest, bid farewell to Moria's lair, and moved on to the next destination. Luo has his own ship, the polar diving submarine, and there is no problem in incorporating it into the fleet, and all his crew members are also brought along. As for Moria, naturally, his Thriller bark had to be abandoned here, and he only brought a few cadres and a few zombies. Simply he has other ships, also joined the fleet. Before you go, Mali Ya released a large number of shadows, and countless black shadows shot up from everywhere in the Thriller bark, which was also a spectacle. In short, the current Straw Hat fleet has expanded to 5 ships. They are the main ship Sunny, the Mary of the 1st Division, the Ark Proverb of the 2nd Division, the Terror of the 3rd Division, and the Base Diving of the 4th Division. Sail to Saboti Archipelago. Following the command of the captain, the 5 ships sailed back and forth, heading towards the sea. Sunny no Perona sat on her knees on the deck, her little face covered with cold sweat. In front of her was the women's army that formed the United Army. Perona. She was naughty before. Robin smiled like a real child of the devil. "Ahahaha, it fell into our hands, Sister Robin. How should we deal with this little girl?" Valentine's eyes were teasing. "Don't call her a little girl. Don't look at her so petite and cute, she is actually a 23-year-old woman." She folded her arms with her fingers and looked down. "Can't bear it," Perona said angrily. 23 years old is not an old woman, she is so uncute." The crowd ignored her protests. "I'm a little angry too. Golden Week licked the lollipop. Only Miss Kaya, a good old lady, persuaded. Everyone will live on a boat in the future, don't be angry. Apparently her statement had no effect. Nami and Vivi are watching the play from the sidelines. The two of them were not attacked by the passive ghost. To be precise, they had avoided elementalization before being penetrated. Miss Nami, don't you care? Vivi whispered. If you do something wrong, you should be punished. Robin, I support you. Nami didn't think it was too big a deal. Luffy looked back amusedly. It's really interesting to see women tearing up. Open the system prompt. You have recruited new crew members Trafalgar da Waterlaw, qualified doctors, ability users, reward 1000 adventure coins. Good guy, you just exposed his real name. However, 1000 adventure coins are the highest so far. This is probably because of Op fruit. This fruit can perform immortality surgery on others, so that the target can obtain eternal ecology. Look at the rest. Because of the joining of Captain Luo, the members of the Heart Pirates were also included in the Straw Hat Fleet. The number of people is not large, plus Luo's 1000, a total of 1500 adventure coins will be obtained. In contrast, Moria has a smaller number of people, but a little more, 1800. Adventure coin. 21245 at 27,545 in a blink of an eye, 2 days later. The Sabaody archipelago is already visible to the naked eye. Naval headquarters. An office temporarily rebuilt. Akainu was shirtless, with a long gash on his chest that was bandaged. Suddenly, a young man ran over. Akainu Admiral. Important information has arrived. The pirate ship flying the flag of the Straw Hat Pirates is landing on the Sabaody archipelago. What? Akainu frowned. What does this kid mean, running over here in a fair manner? Where is Sabaody archipelago? Less than an hour from naval headquarters. It's a direct order from 5 elders, Akainu Admiral. 5 elders asked you to arrest, not to kill, Rear Admiral said seriously. Did you hear me right? Akainu froze for a moment. Although I don't want to admit it, but that is the Straw Hat Luffy of the 4 Emperors level combat power. Let him go. Once there is a fight, the Sabaody archipelago might disappear. Absolutely heard it right. I also contacted Kizaru Admiral and Aokiji Admiral. The above attitude is very firm. Straw Hat crew must be defeated at all costs. Rear Admiral was also shocked in his heart, not understanding why such an order came. But he can only convey it faithfully. I see. Akainu stood up expressionlessly, put on a cloak of justice and set off immediately.